All right, so let me just answer this real quick because it's easier to make a video and talk about it than it is to type things on a goddamn phone with my fat fingers. The question is, okay, in this design of a building that you want to build into the slope and as far into the earth as you can, conveniently, depending on your type of soil. I mean, if you're really lucky, then you've got some kind of cool sandstone, in which case somebody's already probably done that in some culture. There's lots of places where there's big cave cities, and we can learn from cave cities because we can always get hotness outside and on the surface. But there's only one place we can get coolness, and that's the cooling power of the earth. And so if we get good at that, and we can mainly just dig in and let the earth take care of it, and then make sure it's safe and not too dark and has ventilation, a fancy ass cave. We can do better than our ancestors did. We can put in cooler materials. I don't, but I want to use mostly materials that are just local. You can get them local. I don't want to make a thing that's a fantasy object that is not within range of people doing it in actual places where they need it done. I hope you kept up with that. So, anyway, the question is, it's a perfectly reasonable question, is doesn't that thermal mass make it too cold? And the answer is essentially that that's what we value because we can so easily populate the surface and collect energy up there. And so that's the whole point, is to have a place that's a little bit too cold. And then you've got one cold place, one cold edge of it that is for coldness. It's the fucking in there coldness, but it's, climate controlled in some ways with very simple methods, passive airflow methods. And then you actually live in the middle layer, in the layers, the floors, the structures that have thermal mass, and you can mix it with straw bale. Straw bale is really nice if you've got a good, big long span. You can always cover it in straw bale and rip it out later. Doesn't matter. So I'm actually picturing concrete as the primary material, as opposed to, for example, for tires. And tires with earth ships, you may have heard about those. They're in Arizona, New Mexico, somewhere, I don't know, somewhere hot. I would rather just live in a really more pleasant climate, have a little bit less hot sun beating down on me. And I want to make sure that, especially as the climate changes, that we have places to get out of places that are too sunny. Because the earth is a moderating force. We won't freeze down there, but we sure as fuck will freeze or fry on the outside. And so digging in should just be normal in architecture at this point. This is a response to climate change. And it is, there's a reason. I asked my architect friend, why don't we do that more? And his short answer was cost. It just costs way more to dig in. Now I'm thinking in a place where labor is cheaper, and if I can get financing from outside, then we can build in a different way that's more manual than like bulldozers and stuff. And, mixing concrete by hand is a good skill to have. Keeps you in shape. Should be done in the right time of the year so that you're frying in the sun and you do have water. So, but if we make thick concrete caves, essentially, and if we layer them in ways that we can control the flow of the sun coming in and the coldness of the earth, then within that layer, that very thick concrete layer that we can decorate however we like, and we can do rock work, and there could be streams within it and domey parts, and it's really a great, cool sounding idea. And then we're protected from an unknown future. And also we are at a really comfortable temperature here without needing to keep rebuilding things. Like building with wood is stupid. Sorry, I know that it's cool, and we should have like a trohe. It's a local type of cabin. That'd be really neat. We could even make one, and we could buy one, whatever. So that's great, but in general, wood doesn't last long enough for, if you really want to make a civilization that can handle difficult times, then you have to build for when the river is too wild, and you shouldn't build right next to the river at all, dumbass. No offense to anyone who got injured in floods and things, but it's every goddamn 10 minutes there's some hillside collapsing, and that means someone's doing something wrong. Like they're probably not controlling the water off their buildings well enough, and they're probably not digging far enough into bedrock. Here, if I want to build all the way down, dig down to the rock level, so that we build off of the toughest, strongest rocks we can get to. And that means we're pulling a lot of dirt out of that spot manually. That's manual work. It's really hard. And that's why it costs. It costs labor. And it's not, the idea is bad. In fact, if you think about the idea, which I'm asking you to do, it really just makes brilliant amounts of sense. And I think I sent the person I was chatting with a link. I looked up underground cities. Try that, and then look for a page that has a bunch of them. And then keep looking at the ones that blow your mind, because it will be blown. Now, they got to do that because they were in particular soil. And so here, I have to dig down, and unless I get to some other kind of soil, then the sandstone type idea, there's various types of stone that works with, doesn't work here. In other words, we can't kind of carve out the building. We'd have to carve it and then concrete it for structural purposes. That's when we want to be intimately involved with the thermal mass of the dirt. And we may not always wish to be. In fact, we could reduce how much the thermal mass gets in our way by having systems, passive systems, that result in these always comfortable places. And places that are too hot, we can dehydrate stuff. We can very carefully pick any technology there, but it's just dangerous as hell. Every piece of technology is just terrible. By the way, with the overall form of what I'm describing, think of those buildings like in Mykonos or somewhere. It's in Greece. I don't know the name of it, but it has some cool Greek-sounding name. And if you look at pictures of that place, you'll see on the hillsides, on the really beautiful, beautiful Mediterranean, some really odd buildings. And those I like because they actually are kind of building up, and we can build up and we can dig in at the same time. Ideally, if we're going to do a lot of this by hand, we would be digging up an area and immediately clearing that and using the dirt in another place nearby for some smart purpose, such as thermal mass. And at the same time, maybe making some adobes and moving them, so that some projects that are not convenient to process dirt at, you can make. But I'm suspicious of adobes. I like adobe a lot, but I'm going to insult adobe a little bit. I'm going to say it's too thin, and the roofs fall in. That's bad. I've seen a lot of adobe buildings with wooden poles and some tiles. That we could build that for a burrow, but then again, why build something stupid for a burrow if we're going to have to then rebuild it? So, we would probably want to make a concrete framework or something that's fairly easy to put up whatever kind of roofing we decide we're going to deal with. Be neat if everything was frosted glass or, something fancy, but we've got to use materials that we can get here cheaply. We could do a bulk order from somewhere else if it wasn't too difficult. But good roofing should be allowed to happen somehow here more naturally. Earth roofs are great. I've got 2 of them. And so parts of this structure, as you imagine it, dug into the building, can have jutted out earth roofed areas. And it could have, basically your roof space is super important. I'm not going to get into everything. You can read about that online, and I have some videos as well. But if all the houses are ecological, and if the design of the space is made so that you can have people living in a park and everybody's near a plaza, in other words, let's really help out the natural world around us in pieces of it as close as possible, and of course far away. Basically, I go to some plazas and they depress me. Now, the Oranga Plaza actually, I think, does very, very well. They've got an awesome tree collection. And they got trees I like. They nicely let me take some palms out of the tree to try and reproduce it. I need to take some down there to them as babies, unless they have an infinite number of babies. They probably do. I should ask. I'll just ask if that's something that helps them, or if that's they've got that taken care of. But I think that we should plant a shit ton of palms. Also, a lot of yucca. You know why? Palms and yucca, they're really easy to get rid of. So we can plant them with less fear in some places that we may want to change our use of it later. And so these are like temporary plants in a way. They're the opposite of an oak tree. The oak tree is a god ruling over us and the land. And so that's more important to protect those. And also, we can easily, with no big plastic systems, without a lot of work, we can easily collect their seeds and increase their reproduction rate and then give away or sell baby oak trees. This is, reforestation. We can try it by seed in a spot too. That's fine. And we should do test cases where we go and we plant, a meter of this kind of stuff there, this dry, similar. And we write down its description of its spot. And then we put another spot next to it, and as many as we have an attention span for, to see if we can in any way grow that tree or that seed without anything at all except placing it in some dirt. That is the big win. So no pots, no digging up babies, no watering things out of season. If we can figure out some trees, because they can do it themselves. They're doing it right now. All I have to do is have them teach me what to do. And so I first for me is digging up babies. That's neat. But collecting those seeds and getting them to germinate, and that could be in pots as well, I suppose, because they're going to take a really long time. And pots give us the opportunity to, at any time after a certain age, like after it's half a meter tall, something, then we can put that exactly where we want it. And I'm not mentioning this for no reason. I'm mentioning it because we're destabilizing a slope, right? And we've got limited things we can do with concrete and planning ahead, and we have to make really sure our water systems don't fucking fail and make there be a slide. Now, one thing about that is don't plant steep slopes. And I'm going to break that rule. I've got a design for a building that's like those in Italy that are clung on the side there. Really just very interesting to look at, and thinking about how they evolved. Okay, they probably weren't really planned out very well, is my guess. Because things like that just grow. They didn't start out with, 250 of them. Houses all jumbled together. And so we can do better than that by digging in further, using that cold, and then the oaks we need if we're going to be anywhere near life. It's very important on every tree to think about the height of it. There's like forestry and shit involved. It's really, anyway, so we got a lot of stuff to do with plants. But if we got the oaks involved with living inside of an oak, so that the oak itself is a stabilizing force, even down into your living room. And you're just sitting there, and there's these oak kind of root branches, whatever, something. And that makes you feel more secure. And it protects you from the wind, and you can kind of sculpt it around your area. And so we could try that. We could try growing ourselves rooms we could just start tunneling. Now, I have an oak grove over here. It's really pretty. There it is. And it would already be kind of perfect for that. It would be a really cool experiment. Basically make a tunnel system in it and maybe have none of it almost sticking out at all. Have it connect to things that stick out. Like, I want to run a building right dug in here down this really steep slope. Now, that's pretty scary. I won't be starting doing that because I want to feel very comfortable about this slope. It's covered in oaks, which is great. I'm not going to rip the fuck out of it. I'm controlling water on the upside moderately well. I can do better, easily do better. Just simple changes. Oh. It's a nice time of night. It's very beautiful out. So I decided, yeah, anyway, that's my thought. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm going to go think about other shit now. But yeah, I'm glad you're thinking about digging in architecture. I think we all need to think about that. There's so many cost issues and cultural issues and design issues and so many things we can think of together. We can make that realistic, not like stupidly drawn up fancy shit of the future. Like, what can we build now so that we can survive in the very near future if there's severe changes? We need to dig in or die. So, God, I always end things on a bummer, don't I? I have some really nice Jamaica tea here, though. I hope you're having a great evening. I'll see you later. Thanks for the cool question. The answer is you can't go too thick. You can figure it out. Think about erosion and be careful. And ask a fucking engineer, because, I just make stuff up. I do hope you don't mind that I ramble a little bit, but I think there's probably a couple reasons. One is I might be insane. That's certainly possible. I certainly got way too much shit in my head, and I'm trying to fit it all together, I think that one of our upsides that we can have, instead of making faster hardware, or producing more electricity, or generally fucking the planet over, I think that we can look at how things connect together, use a little bit of biomimicry, looking at how life finds niches for animals and then mimic those conditions. How did we evolve in different climates? How did we want to? Maybe we didn't know how. It really depends. It's all over the world. I love seeing like old architecture. I'm not talking about like, old buildings downtown. I mean like how people used to build shit. And it's really interesting because we know a lot more now. Now, they sure know more about doing it that way, but we can relearn that. We're pretty smart monkeys, and we can improve on it immediately, but with great caution. I believe digging in should be like a religious mantra for architecture and civil engineering. I believe that we can live in a dense way, not as dense as an apartment building, for example, but that we can live sculpting our community into the earth bit by bit. Just like in town, what people do is they have rebar sticking out of the top of their roof. And a lot of people come to Mexico or Guatemala or some places like that, probably a lot of places. And the question is, why is there rebar sticking out of the damn roof? That's a great question. I had to talk to a few people to get an answer I thought was satisfactory, but it seems obvious now. It's for building your next story. So rather than take out a loan for a house that's bigger than you need, you build your house as you go. Now, if you had this kind of a framework, a decision about how you're going to dig into the slope, and you know who's going to do what where and where all the water is going to go, and then you're going to have to adjust as you dig. But the thing is, if you're digging manually, I don't know, maybe power tools sometimes, I'm not sure, okay? I'm suspicious of power tools. But, I use bulldozers. I used them once for a little bit. That guy was here about 20 days digging around, digging through the earth. And it was very educational for me because I'm really curious about what's under the dirt here. What is down there? And the answer to that is going to be different where you live or where you're familiar with or grew up or going to die or whatever. So anything we do with design of these various soils depends entirely on the exact material and the climate. The climate, annual rainfall, what's the issues? If the design does not consider that, we will build death traps for ourselves. We will build coffins if we're not smart. So I think we can study the heck out of any ancient architecture we can. We should do that because, you know, those guys, folks, built amazing shit occasionally, and that went a lot of different ways. I mean, Angkor Wat is probably my most interesting one. There's that oldest place in the world, Geki or something. Geki something. I forgot. It's a dumb name. If I can't remember it. Or maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe I'll get better later. I can fix it. Don't give up on me yet. But if we think like this about those systems not having cheap energy, see, this is our problem, our massive, huge, unforgivable problem, is that we're imagining that we're going to have all this energy. I am afraid as shit that we're going to get that energy because I'm afraid of what we're going to do with it. We're not doing very smart things at the moment. We're kind of like moving dirt around in the wrong places, contaminating waterways, poisoning ourselves. We hurt ourselves the most. I mean, I care about the animals because if they die, I know we die. If the plants die, we die. If the ocean dies, we die. There's very important other players here, and some people are setting up systems that make it so that we are destroying the things that, you know, our partners in terms of in the natural world. We're part of the natural world, and we're doing it wrong. That's you know, in various ways. I have opinions about that. I can talk about that for hours and hours. You know, about all the ways we're fucking up. Which is why I live the way I do. Which is not a good way to live. There's several flaws there. Big flaws, big problems. But a lot of the ideas I have, I think will work. There are ways of thinking about architecture, borrowing from any method anywhere, you know. I'm very excited lately by the oaks, and so I really do want to incorporate those as much as possible into creating buildings out of them. I don't know how to do that, but, you know, maybe we make a big mound and we just train the roots, or we let the roots go, and then we slowly scrape the dirt away, and we've got a branched off root-like thing instead of a tree-like thing. Well, that's a natural way to make something pretty fucking cool, a sculpture that is going to keep living for a bunch of time. So it's like public art that is fantastic. I mean, you could make one that had arches, you know, up, and had like a bulb almost at the bottom. It could be pretty big, like you could have people go through it. Now that's more work. This is one interesting option we have with this building idea, is that where there are oaks, if there's any way to avoid killing that oak, avoid it, because that oak is your friend for even no matter how you're building, right? It could be an adobe building. It could be, you know, a place for you to park your trailer. But we can sculpt those trees. We've also got several others. We've got hawthorns, which are great. They have thorns on them, so you can also keep people from going through it. It's like a fence more. We can use those as a fence. So far, we have not been good at reproducing those. I don't know why, but we're going to learn that this year. That's a priority. The black oaks, though, are definitely the tree that's number one for using as a sculptural material. I mean, why can't we grow a living, dug-in room? The whole thing. I think we can. And we have those roots all around us, holding that wall together. And then you got to think about, you know, your drainage, like I said earlier. Everything about the water matters totally. But we have to set things up, and here's where we're about to die, okay, if we fuck up. If we don't set up our water systems correctly. I read about these old civilizations. I don't study them in depth in any particular one of them. I could only name some, but I've read about many. And it's suspicious to me when a civilization develops a really good agricultural system or an irrigation system rather, sorry, that something goes wrong. We fuck up with water too much. Now maybe it got flooded. I forget with Angkor Wat. I thought I read that they just decided to move. I think they might have said that. I think I remember that. But I think they had an irrigation problem too. And I don't know with the Mayans. Mesoamerica has great history, by the way. If you had never studied it, a lot of people study a lot of European history or U.S. history if you're a gringo, you know, like me. And it took me years to study more about Mexico. I think it's almost probably, I would recommend going there. That'd be the best way to study it. I can guarantee that. It'll beat any book. You should read some books too. I don't know what's currently on the list of cool books about Mexico. There's cooking ones, cultural ones. I have one that's really old. It's like a treasury of Mexican folklore. It's in English. I got to scan that guy in, actually. I can't lose that. Oh, I got too much crap to do, and I've got too much pressure on me, so I can't do anything. It's raining like it's Seattle. I'm kind of having a good time. This is the most Seattle-like it's been in a while. It's been raining for over 24 hours. Except it's harder than a drizzle. It's more than that. So but it feels really similar. It's too cold. So I put on socks for the first time in over a year or something, year and a half, something. Damn. Oh. So I guess you're just kind of hanging out on the porch with me. This is Jamaica tea, which is hibiscus, if you didn't know that. Hibiscus is a flower. It's a red flower. I have tried to grow it. I think I have to make radically different microclimates before I could grow it. And it's so cheap and light to get that I'm not really working hard to grow that one. People should never tell me what to grow because it doesn't work and it annoys me. They should suggest what they think and tell me why. Preferably in writing or in a video. Because I don't like people telling me, you know, how I got to do shit here. Only some people, a small minority, do that. But they're doing what they should do. They're looking around trying to figure out what to do where and why. You know, this is kind of like permaculture designers, if they're any good. Ones that make good maps, you know. And now we've got drones out there, and we've got GPS and everything. We've got better photography. I really need a camera with GPS in it, so I can just walk around shooting stuff, and then those can get put into a panorama later. I'm good at shooting panoramas. I can put it on a tripod if I need to. But I need a GPS camera, I believe. One that does direction and elevation. All of that shit will get strung together later if I keep walking around and recording enough areas. Because before, the areas are changed now, right? I did this already. I did my best. I GPSed it, but a lot of it was on trails. Some of it I did after I put the first roads in. But hopefully those are useful. And those are tagged on Flickr. There's about 50 billion of them that make a virtual picture. I hope I didn't make them private. I was very private at the time. I'm still kind of, well, I'm probably not hard to find anymore. But I don't like that. Anyway, whatever. You got to make virtual things. So anyway, I did my best at shooting that. But it's all going to be done again. You know what I need? Ideally, this would be great. If I'm willing to have this happen. Because, you know, I'm very private right now. But eventually I'll die, and there's maybe a park. I got to think a lot about what I want for this place. Even for historical reasons, somehow I should photograph it with video, with like as round a video as I can, or just video the fuck out of it. And start with like the camera fixed on certain spots so that you can video individual trees around places. And if you can handle the storage of that video, I'm talking to myself now, sorry. I forgot you were here. Anyway, I need to walk around like that. Kind of like Google Street Side, Street View. Microsoft has one too. Those can be improved a lot because I saw in a demo a long time ago where they were just taking video and they were broadcasting live from Pike Place Market, I believe. And they were broadcasting live video of these guys there at the time. And those guys were overlaid into the virtual environment, the rest of it, all the other pictures that were there. And there was, I don't know if there was like things you can click on and have a video come up or not, but that's an obvious feature to put there. And I haven't heard about either of those projects for a long time. I think they've gone stealth and they're figuring out which pieces they're able to do when, but I think they're being too complex. The shit I want to see now is I want to see a space being broadcast live from any media that anyone in the room has that knows how to use it at all. They've been told how not to be stupid with their media grabbing device, their phone, for example. So those people can be easily controlled. Those are the best among us. Because, boy, people really vary on how well they can do video or stills, you know, and they have just different styles, too, which is okay. But I don't want a bunch of people looking at each other with cameras. Maybe I do if I have the bandwidth to handle it. What if you could handle your own GoPro that feeds right into the system? Maybe you have to edit it later. Probably edit it later here. I should actually make a list of what I want to do live here. Like what I want to broadcast live. Like this could be live right now. My computer's right near here. I didn't even think of that. Well, we'll see what happens. This video is going to be called Frida Gets in Trouble. Frida is a small dog who lives here. She is one of my best friends. She's in trouble because I've been cold lately in my bed, and it's not been that cold. And I look down here and I find out I knew I was missing the sheet. I didn't know where it went. She stole it. Now I know who did it. But this is a perfect little dog cave right in here. It's just really comfortable. That's her towel over there I gave her when she first got here. I was like, well, she's going to fuck with something. I better just give her some stuff. So I gave her the right stuff. She, for some reason, is attacking and killing. I have video of this. She's attacking and she's just killing a day pack. She picked a day pack that had been, just laying there in the corner because it was a stupid one with broken zippers or some bullshit. Anyway, she attacks the day pack, and that's very fun, actually, because I think it's hilarious. Also, because anything she attacks I don't want, I don't care. So she doesn't attack very many things, and I'm just really happy that for some weird reason, she's not just ripping the fuck at everything. Because she could. I think she went through a brief stage, and it was so brief. It was so brief that... There she is. Hi, honey. Arr. This is a pretty dumb place to put that. Hi guys, how you doing? This is Boogie. Boogie is Coco's brother. Boogie is such a good boy. That's his brother over there. This is Cabron. What's this dog's name? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? I demand to know your name, man. Jesus, slow down. Oh, this dog goes way too fast. But see, this dog does not go way too fast. This dog is older. And so she's more mellow. That dog over there, that one right there, hi honey, doesn't live here. Come on come onto the roof. Come on. But it eats here, obviously. Oh well. I think what I need to do... All right, let's check this place out. This is the porch that goes on the view. Its primary flaw is I leave shit laying around it. Places like this have to be strictly controlled. Every tool that should have its place so it goes and it's not out here. No garbage should be out here at all. This is too valuable a spot. It should have receptacles for garbages. They should be 5-gallon buckets. There's a reason for that, because I can paint them however I want. They're cheap, and I can use them to decide where I need what I need. They're mobile. This is as opposed to, for example, purchasing. Why am I walking around? Oh yeah, I'm trying to get exercise. Duh, there's that dog again. Look at this. This is how you clean your pot. Because I don't like to do dishes. It doesn't work because then I still have to, now it's going to be all dirty. So, oh my God, Coco is totally dirty. This is like a mud fest out here. Hi, honey. What's your real name? Oh, I was told this dog's your real name. No, was I? Oh, I might have dreamed that. Oh, damn it. It's like raining and shit. Oh. The thing is, it's not cold rain, really. It's not warm rain, and it's not humid out. I talk a lot about the climate here, and I hope people listen to me when I talk about it, because it's real interesting. I was talking about architecture earlier, but that's entirely climate dependent, except for that one big rule. Dig in. It doesn't matter whether you're from a cold place or a hot place. Dig in. You don't know what's coming. It's useful. It's a great use of space. It allows us to have more outdoor areas if our buildings are what percentage buried. Let's imagine it, shall we? Yes, we shall. Well, if there was 1% dug in, that would be less than a normal foundation, and that would be ridiculous. Maybe I'll try and be smart enough to come in and out of the rain. I do wish I had more places that were up top that had shade and rain protection. And I'm working on that on the best way I know how. Which is not very well. I'm certainly not trained to do what I'm doing. But I have a shit ton of ideas. They are innovative. And I'm sure other people will be just perfectly happy to tell me what a dumb fuck I am. Because of anything, really. Okay. I think I'll sit down out there for a while. It's the only comfy spot I've got up here. I and I forgot my light out here too. That's pretty stupid. Like, that's colossally dumb. Given where I live, I would say that's a dumb thing. We'll see if that does any good. This is just one of those little square lights. They're cheap as hell. I would like it to be a little bit more robust. It sounds like it's broken, but it works. So I'll take it. With each kind of bulb you buy like that, you can think about how far or close you want to be from it, because the effect is so very different. I think that's too bright. I think that's cooler. Also, you can see the nice green shit out here. Oh, that's one bad thing about, I just moved my chair because these side storm, raindrop, wind, hail things were hitting me. Not what, I didn't stay there. And I just got amazing spots around here that, as we think about this kind of building, right, that's built into the slope, it uses even big trees as part of its structure. Now, it doesn't all have to do that. And this does not have to be the one-size-fits-all thing. But what I would like it to be is the one structure fits all. I want you to think about bees. In order to encourage bees to make little hexagonal things filled with the weird things that they put in there, including honey. But they put a weird shit in there. They actually put, I think, plastic, but often pressed beeswax up against the screens within the hive, and that encourages the bees to build things in the right spot. I think that's why they do it. I don't know what happens if you don't do that, but it makes it easy for the farmer. Well, in this case, we're the users of the building, right? We're the victims or the people who really just think it's the best place they've ever been. And that's what happens with architecture. It's not people's fault that architects build shit. And a lot of things are built for a short time span, like a financing range or something. You got to think really long term, much longer than we are now. I think we should just make a list of every crazy idea of modules or styles that you could have in any part of such a building. Obviously, part of it could be something as big as a basketball court, but with better seating, a small stadium. I don't remember if the island out there has one of those, but basically I want a thing that's like a bull ring, and it fits. The question is, what's the diameter? How many butts does it have to fit? Well, I guess I have a big space here, and so I would like to make one that fits only 2 butts, and the people are facing right to each other, and they're not so close it's easy to make out or something. That would be a different spot you would want to make. But it's a great place to hear someone and talk to them, and it's a nice, pleasantly surfaced table that is easy to have paper and a tablet. And there's a spot to hang your backpack. I don't know. This could be part of, it could just be a one-off type thing. It could be, they would make a place with 12 of those. And I've even seen curved chairs that you kind of fit into them. I want it to be really comfortable. That's 2. Well, the obvious next one is 3. And then the question is, you have to measure your butts, like how wide are people's butts, and then how wide are they really? Because some people have very wide butts. And so you have to decide the diameter of this talking space based on that. You could decide whether you want to have in the middle a place you can bring up cables. Somebody might want to stick a tripod on that table and then spin it around and talk to people. Just 3 people there. 4. 5. Do you eventually have to have somebody be in charge? You probably don't, especially if everyone has their own media device, right? And if they're recording that and broadcasting it when they can, and then that all ends up getting reassembled into a virtual space that all fits within the larger virtual space. If this place got recorded well enough, and I have stable enough trails now, that there's going to be changes. But those would be cool to see. A bunch of them will be really cool to see. And then in some places, something will just be gone that was here before. Because when I say sculpting a place, I don't mean I'm like carving trees. I have carved trees, but I'm not into it. I'd rather shape trees. Shape them into things that we like to have around us. We should make friends with the trees. And we should help them help us like them. The oaks are so mighty. And so some people would say with tree sculpting that that's mean, right? Guarantee it. I've already heard it. It's mean to the tree. Look, it totally changes the tree's life, okay? It makes it into a whole different tree than it would have been. Maybe it would have died. Maybe it would have become this big, huge, beautiful oak tree. But it got picked to be sculpted by me or somebody like me. Well, I'm not the first one, although I think I'm the only person I know of that's trying to make such a dense structure with black oaks. And I'm doing it in two places, one very different than the other. And I'm going to do it in a whole other place too. And I'm going to become an expert oak sculptor with some other trees mixed in because there's a whole bunch of other great trees. What the fuck is this noise? It's a weird bird that's for some reason out in the rain. Oh, that's another thing I got to do here. And this goes along with tree sculpting really well, okay? And I've never expressed this at the same time as I have this general idea of sculpting oaks into something which either is housing for us or fits around our house in a way that it's good. And we got to watch out for roots there, right? Because roots damage foundations. And what kind of foundations we have here may vary. Now, on upslope spots on these buildings that are dug in, it could be that a root comes out of a dirt wall and you just chop it off. You know, or you bend it into something. Maybe you make a coat hook out of it. Maybe you just let it grow. Maybe you put a pot there it can grow into. And that oak generation will continue. Wow, it'd be like making a clone. I don't think about making clones with oaks much. I think about gathering seeds and planting those. We could do some experiments with air layering in oaks, and I recommend it. I recommend it for educational purposes. I recommend it for branches that we're going to cut anyway. We know we're going to cut them. So with 10, 20 of those, make the best air layering things you can. Air layering is when you wrap something around the branch and you have it be like a bunch of stuff, like sphagnum moss. You don't need that. I use moss here, actually. When I'm in charge, which unfortunately, it's difficult for me to always be in charge of everything, but the moss gets boiled in a big pot, okay? And I have rocks I can take it off of, and I don't take it off of the prettiest places, like next to trails. I harvest moss off of a mossy hill. It's really mossy. And I do it very carefully. I don't take too much. This is how I go shopping, and it's much smarter. God, I'm an arrogant sounding fuck, but not my fault. I got a lot of good ideas, and I'll tell you what they are. So now you've got your free thing that's like sphagnum moss. It's got sticks in it, some shit like that. You've boiled it, and you've put it in a solar dryer, and it dried it out. That part's optional. You could just boil it, cool it on a big tray, right? And then that same time have teams taking it away quickly to go put it on the tree, but they have to wait till it's cold. So that's why I'm thinking trays where you spread it out in a shady spot and it might cool down faster. It's already wet, which is actually good because you're going to want to get water in there anyway. So this is why you don't dry it, I think. Now you could dry it if you want to move time from one time to another, but I like this idea of doing things at exactly the right time. And there's a right time to harvest moss. I don't use moss for much. I don't, for example, I love it when people do it. It's beautiful, but they take a big table and they have moss all over it that they bought at the market. And this happens all over the world in different ways and different things. We have to be producing more stuff than we destroy. And we shouldn't be destroying living matter to be decorations that dry out. That's mistreating the moss. One does wonder, of course, how much you can have inside your building a high humidity, mossy jungle environment. If you've already got this building and we have this structure, remember we were starting to talk about the bees, right? Not birds, just the bees. and we provide this structure of, okay, there's going to be a stairway here, a big stairway. Okay, there's going to be dug into slope along building, and out of each end comes really good transportation to figure out how to get out of there, how to walk out of there mainly. Because it's a middle floor on slope, and it doesn't just have to be one, right? Every floor could have its own system of how you have people walk away from that building, get out of there. I mention that because I don't think there's going to be a lot of cars in there. I have thought that I would have two of these buildings, one upslope from the other, and in between there's enough space for a road. And the plan for that road is actually a plaza, a long plaza that goes through the middle of the building, and it has, in almost all spots, it has some kind of polycarbonate over it to diffuse the light. I don't like that material because it eventually falls apart and I can't make it. Safety glass is the best I can think of. Make it like a big greenhouse. Put a greenhouse on top of it. You may have spots where it's not as wide as other spots. That's okay. You could have multiple greenhouse type things feeding light into the interior of your building section. You could have places that were shady, or you could decide some of those later. If you build it right, then even if all this stuff fell apart, the water would be set up to run down the road and away from the building to somewhere. In other words, you're going to drain water away from the building if there's systems of failure of the water system. And everything fails. In this case, I'm talking actually about a failing roof, and that we don't want the inside of the building to become flooded. We want it to almost have gutters down there and able to handle a big rainstorm. And that's assuming we had a problem with a roof that we decided not to fix as a society for some reason. I want the roof to have curved edges. You know those Japanese temples that have a kind of a cool curve and then they got a bunch of layers to it? They're just cool. Now, that is not what I'm imagining, but I want you to think about how water flows through systems and how it can flow off of some things, and we can keep some places really clean to collect it. And we can have other things that are fulfilling for us on roofs to make sure water goes to the right spot. Now, I want, on the edge, a concrete lip that is so big and thick and that we can so easily put resin on, that we really like. Everything that it drains out of is really big. We can drain it down a waterfall. Now, we actually want to have it drain as less distance as possible so it's as useful as possible because it has kinetic energy. But we have to figure out ways then that we have a bunch of that water be stored on top. And that should be on bedrock. We should do it on spots where it should be stored. That's part of the cold stuff. It's because it keeps it protected, and we can make whatever we can do whatever we have to protect it, and the sun won't hit it. Earthquake probably won't damage it. We can set up pump systems that we can have be portable, and we can lower into something and have it be pumped up with solar power. We can figure something else out. Now, the ideal is always if somebody below where you're storing the water wants to use the water. The problem is the person on top is the one that collected it. We can figure that stuff out if we have people control their buildings well, and people can control their buildings well if they're built correctly. So, in a lot of places, you have a flat roof, or it seems flat. And you might want to get real good at making things that seem flat. And those roofs pour this water into a very big channel. And it might even do it internally sometimes. If you really were planning on keeping your roof clean, could be two different systems. Anyway, those curved things go down into other places as far as they need to. And they go into places that are controlled enough that you have enough water for your society. I like the big black tanks that they have here. I have a 7,000 liter one. I would not mind having 20 more of those because I think I could fill them. And that's a lot of water. And that can feed oases for birds and wildlife. That can feed plant reproduction for plants that go on to live here but don't need any additional water. Because if you set your system up to require the water, then when your water system fails, your food system fails, and you failed. You failed to see the risks. Plan for the water system to fail. And decide every way you can think of how it could. Separate things in a lot of cases. You don't need to mix all the water together. You can make sure every bit of captured water had a destination, that it was ideal use, and was used in the most careful way possible, whether that's washing dishes, washing clothing. You shouldn't be wasting... Hey, don't be a yappy dog. Don't do it. No. Do you hear my low voice? Hey, what are you barking at? Oh, man. Are you cold? Are you shivering? You want to come up on my lap? Come up on my lap, okay? I'll put you up here. Yeah. Hi. Coco, you seem very dirty. Did you know that? It's okay. It's okay, you're not in trouble. You can have fun in the rain. You're a good boy. Yeah, good boy. Yeah. That dog is cool. Uh-oh, now there's Boogie over here too. This is a lot of dogs out here. You're a wet dog too. Go away before you, and don't shake. Get away from me. And you stop shaking. There we go. That thing looks ugly. So this is Frida at night. She still has energy. And I don't want to put her to bed and have her wake up in the middle of the night because she's been getting more rambunctious. And I'm usually so sleepy when that happens that I don't care. She hasn't done a lot. She's got the day pack. She's attacking. That's okay. That's an approved toy. She chose that early on. You're a smart girl. I think it wouldn't hurt if I got a really big bone and put it up there when she can't leave in my way enough that I won't see it, you know? Something like that. What a beautiful rainy night. If I was a smarter guy or a nicer guy, I'd make a fire. It'd be really cool. I'd make it in my fire bin right there. It's easy. I'm that lazy. I just don't care. I'd rather have sweaters on. I put socks on. That's how cold I got. Oh, you're in big trouble. I forgot. The whole video here is Frida's in trouble. Did you know you're in trouble? You know what trouble is? Are you trouble? Hey, it's an interrogation. You gotta pay attention. You can't just fall asleep on me. I'm gonna go up there pretty soon and show her what she's done. I'm gonna put on some extra clothes and just let her have that for a little bit. It's like she's tent camping, like she's a little kid tent camping by stealing my sheet. And it's a beautiful red sheet that disappeared, and it's because she pulled it off the bottom of the bed. And then she's gotten these other blankets that she's pulled into a little cave. It's very cute. But she's stealing my bed. She's stealing my bed. And that's because normally she's used to sleeping in my bed. But I was kicking her out of my bed. Now there's a solution here, and I don't know if you can guess what it is, but it's called crate training. Crate training is great. And I have a crate for it. I'm leaving it in the van for a little while. And I was doing that because I know I'm going to take her in and have her genitals mutilated. What the fuck side is up? I hate phones. Phones are not good cameras. I think phones suck, and that they're stupid. I don't like them. It's backwards. Look, it's you. You see you? It's you. Have I ever shown you a mirror? One of your puppy things you're always supposed to do that's fun is you show them a mirror. The one that's on the ground and well fixed, that won't hurt them, or that won't hurt it. And find out what they think about self-awareness that you are in a mirror. It's kind of like object permanence for kids. I took a little bit of child psychology classes. No, it was developmental psychology. It was a lot of it was biology and conjecture, because cultures vary so widely. But it was their attempt at making a interpretation of how we develop as people. Because I don't think we know. We know a lot. We know bunches. Some of it's really fun. Are you a small person? Yes, but you're a fuzzy one. Raising puppies is super fun. I don't like living upstairs and doing that. I think that there should be places designed specifically for puppy raising. I think I've talked about this once before. And think of it as the most magical thing you can think of. And that these puppies all have tiny little places to play, lots of options, lots of small courtyards, and that those are kept in a way that there's a lot of life within them. In other words, instead of putting puppies on a concrete thing to play, or kids for that matter, I mean, geez, think of the children. But they should have parks to play in. And with puppies, you could have them be fairly small, and you could rotate them quite a bit. And you could have them used for people use. You could do a lot of things with small walls even. I think about things like how tall a wall needs to be. Like I still haven't decided for the whole view big thing. I still haven't fully decided. But I tell you what my theory would be right now if I was going to tell you. Here it is. This is the design of... So I've thought a lot about walls. I'm confused about them. I know I want lots of green walls. I know I want hedgerows, big, huge, thick clumps of tree matter of all kinds. And the combinations of those can be experimented with all we want. We can experiment with those beforehand by taking guesses about it. We can experiment with that afterwards by evaluating different places and seeing how they grow over 10 years, 15 years. What did we put in the, maybe we didn't put everything the right size, maybe some stuff just didn't like certain spots. But the whole south side should be a series of hedgerows, and there should be a plan made prior to that for where buildings go and where walls go. And that entire south side should be walled off, including the upper part, which is the west side. So the upper side needs to be walled in as well. And how that gets done exactly is unclear. I know it's a lot of work, but where we put things, and it's a mixed bunch of stuff. But I'll tell you this, we can't go wrong with green walls. And they help us. They build themselves. Now, I'm currently doing a cedar one. Cedar is not the ideal plant here because it can take over an area, and it's a conifer, and there'll be nothing else there except that. Of course, then you can harvest it as poles, and cedar poles theoretically last a while. So it's not the worst thing to have a cedar grove. In fact, you could change the use of a place every now and again if you wanted, but that's not the ideal. If you carve the cedar grove into things like shade and fences, coves, and you combine it with other things you can sculpt, then maybe you could do some pretty amazing stuff. What is going on? Noises in the night, man. Think of every tree and plant as part of a thing that you could plant the densest thing you could. I like to make up little slogans because it's hard to remember things, But one of the rules should be the sun should never hit the ground. And that'll be broken. We'll break it. Humans are really good at that. So we'll have to fight ourselves, and we'll have to come up with innovative solutions. And sometimes we'll just give up, and we'll say the sun's going to hit the ground there. We like that. Maybe we have like spots where you sit and you watch the sunset, or you watch the dawn. Maybe it's like a stone U-trap that you sit in. Maybe it's a double pane dug into the slope building overlooking the sunset. An immediate place you can go in the morning that's warm and cozy and lit. That's one of the most important buildings to build right now in the Bosque. It's like a greenhouse, but it has a different effect. One, it gets that early morning light. And also, I would like to put below it, I would like to experiment with a lot of evacuated tube solar hot water heaters. And I would like those to travel along insulated tubing. Ideally, it would be exposed all day long from at least, sunrise until it was south. Southeast is probably the best in the spots I'm thinking of. The sun comes up over there, it goes down over there. A lot of people would just say face it south, but I have some trees blocking and there's issues. But south may be an option, and it could be that those are risen up and you sit under them. Why not rise them up? Rise them above people's heads. And then build things so that they can't go near the tubing. So figure out things for ways to have people be sitting under things on roofs. And one of those things is solar panels. Those are probably the ideal because we're probably going to want quite a few of them. We're going to focus on using electricity mostly during the day and having a buffer system of batteries that give us minimal electricity at night. That is a societal decision that if you don't like, you shouldn't be part of the society I'm envisioning. I'm envisioning one place. one set of buildings with experiments in them. And I'll be wrong on some of those by my own standards. I'm going to mess stuff up. The good thing is that all I really have to do is make the design and communicate it well enough, and somebody else will fix it and build it. Because I don't know that I have the resources to do it. Probably I need to work on my drawing skills, like SketchUp or something. But I've always kind of sucked at that, and I like doing it. So I'll make shitty drawings, and other people can make good ones, and they can fix them up, and then I'll comment on them, and then they can change them as they like. There's a lot of issues. Lots of issues. One thing I think about with this building idea is building on a slope, and on a comfortable slope. I think that we should not get fancy with going for big slopes real quick. I think we should go with real conservative notions of how to dig in, because we're going to learn how to dig in. I forgot what I was going to talk about. It's so nice out here. I should improve the lighting out here, actually. I wonder how I can do that. I thought I had lighting. I thought I owned lighting. Motherfucking. Fuck. I need a flat motherfucking floor out here. It's made of something other than stuff dogs make beds out of. Oh, man. Oh. That was fucked up. That's what I worry about. I worry about falling the fuck over. And I'm in a spot I totally know really well. Look at this shitty light bulb. This is a totally shitty light bulb. Why is it so shitty? Fuck. It's also why I have to have lights on me. God damn it, I almost did it again. And I have to be able to see my goddamn feet. And like I was saying, I need to think of ways to light this area. Here's one. I'm going to turn it on right now to remind me what the fuck I'm doing. I left this light on. That was stupid. Never leave a light on, ever. That's part of the culture. Needs to also be, we only light the exact things that we need to see. Meaning that everywhere where we're not is dark. I'm going to leave this light on because it makes me feel comfortable. I feel a little unstable. I wonder if I really have to do this now. The reason to do this now is because it's easy to forget stuff. Here's a light bulb. I like this one. Let's try it out. Put a shitty one on this porch. I think that might be one to improve first off, so that people can see the most important place, and that's where they're fucking walking and opening doors and shit. I had some USB lights. Oh, that's much better. Okay, well now I've got a light I can point at shit around here. That's a start. I put a light over there and it didn't work. And that's because there's no electricity on something. That cord right there, that cord's unplugged. This has the shittiest electrical system you can possibly fucking imagine. And it could be a nice spot at night, like on a night like this. Whoa. The puppy jumps on Blackface's black face. God damn it. God fucking damn it. Okay, stop walking here, dude. I'm like trying to do shit, and that's a dumb idea out here. I'm out of here. But I do think I'm going to keep my eyes out for a series of lights out here. There's a really nice one up here that's motion sensitive that a nice person named Courtney gave me. She came down and brought down a variety of interesting things. And it has lasted really well. It's a motion sensitive LED light that has a solar panel on top. Now those only work in certain spots. If they have a tiny cord, then somebody fucking cuts the cord because they're stupid, or maybe a rat eats through it. Shit like that. I'm gonna try, see if I can shut things down or not tonight. All right, light bulb off. I had a light sensitive one out there. That was a pretty good thing. I've still got the fixture for it. I just have to buy one and put it there. And then I have to put it on a timer that only turns things on at certain times. And usually you want things to turn on at night. You want circuits to turn like lights on and things. This one charges batteries. In other words, I don't know. I think we use too much light in the wrong spots. I think we need to think of the right solution for every single spot. I'm currently walking a very dark stairway, and I'm holding a light. That's actually bad. I mean, it's my favorite light at the moment because it's one of the ones that works, and it's rechargeable. And fuck, I gotta sit down. Oh my God. Oh. Damn. I want some beer or something. Now, I mention it as a structure that we don't know what's going to be where, right? I think we should talk about that things actually do go places. And, you know, we like zoning and we don't like zoning. This is going to be a fairly dense area. That's the kind of the purpose of it, actually, is to, what am I talking to the light for? You're over here. All right. So, oh, I'm thirsty. Architecture, yeah. We're going to talk about, oh yeah, framework, and then how we decide what goes where within the framework. Well, that totally depends, and I think we should come up with about 1 billion ideas about that. That would be really useful. Also, things should be white inside. A lot of things should be white. That, like maybe have a light colored floor even. That really helps you to have an outline of everything, really. I mean, maybe we should look at just having regular concrete floors. I think so. And we can polish them up as we want, you know, later. It doesn't matter. But the cheapest thing to build is concrete floor. And you got to do it right. And we got to get to be experts at it. But the floor ties the pillars together, the framework, and they allow for difficult use. And so one of the floors you need to put in is actually an outdoor walkway along the view side of it. that has connections to more open spots and view locations so that you enjoy the view more. Some of those could be glassed in. They can almost be like the restaurants at the top of Hanizio, you know? Spots to sit and enjoy the beauty of the view. Floors generally have different purposes. A ground floor thing needs to have barriers around it for dirt and shit. And those vary. There's different kinds. Some of them are walkways on the upper side where you walk from an upper spot across a bridge to enter into that floor. And maybe that floor is a public one, or maybe that bridge goes only to like 3 units and that they share it. You know, there's one just off to the side, and because you're going to have an entryway, it's just a little weird to have if you walk across a drawbridge almost, a bridge, that there's right there in front of you is one room. I don't like that design-wise. It just seems wrong. So I think unbalancing it might be worth that. The other option is to have the place where the bridge arrives at the portals that are private, the 3 people's private portals, their porches, their areas, you know, a good-sized area, but have an entryway that sort of blocks view in it, like you kind of curve it or something. I don't know. It's just crazy ideas. I'm just trying to think of all this, the problems we would have when we talk about the kind of building I'm talking about. Certainly I know that what I'm describing and what I'm drawing as far as buildings go looks awful. It's just terrible looking. But that's where you start to brainstorm every possible other kind of facade thing you could have on it. Because you've got, in different cases, you've got different types of framework, and it's exposed in some cases in different ways than other. And you've got special framework around the central, very wide stairways that go up and have dips in them as well, flat spots that they connect into the building. And so no one's going to fall down it. It's not too steep. It's easy enough that you could sit on it and enjoy the day. And it's wide enough that it's as wide as you can imagine needing. And you plan for more of those than you need, and you set aside those spots for something else. In other words, you set aside extra public stairway locations. You map them out. And you don't really know what you're going to do with them. But there needs to be public space things between people. We're going to have a variety of kinds of alcoves and homes. I think there should be cheaper housing and more expensive housing. And if people have more money and they want to pay it, then you have, you auction off, perhaps you auction off parts of it in the building to people for fairly long periods of time, although not so long that you meet legal limits. So probably try and move people around pretty regularly. Make it very easy to change places. Have like equal tables, very similar tables in multiple houses. And so people would just say, oh, well, you leave your table and I won't take the table from the other place. And the buyers and sellers are in contact online, and you're tracking what the promises regarding property movement is. And the big table is just one example. You can also imagine a captain's bed. Why not? I like several kinds of housing, and we can really just start to list all the kinds of housing. For example, I need 2 barracks right away. The military houses people in a way that is fairly simple, functional, and they're focused on another goal. And that's kind of what I want to have here, but probably a little less shooting. But every other activity that we want to do here needs to be supported by a larger plan of landscape development of this property, and even thinking about ones near it. There's like a Hito land I would like to buy. It's right across the road, and it could become an important spot. And there's other ideas I have too. So, so we think about the entire system, you know, and every part of every, especially every living part of it that feeds into the system that provides anything, shade, gravel, cool looking rocks, old neat trees. You know, this entire forest really already is filled with treasures. And what we have to do is figure out how can we get what we want, and really what I want. In this case, I'm the only person voting, but I'm listening to you, and you can use my thoughts for other projects, you know, and you can do different things than I do. This place is so big and dark. I put my glasses down somewhere, and I have no idea where they are. Actually, I have a theory. But my place is such a mess. Oh, hi, little puppy. This is what happens every night. This little guy comes up. Come here. You gotta come closer. God damn it. There you go. So a puppy comes up and then tries to play. And then I try to get her to relax a little bit, because there's a time for playing and there's a time for knocking it the fuck off. Oh, hey, little honey. You're a cutie. Yeah. Yeah, there you are. Oh. Okay, we're gonna despaz. Despazzing. Yeah, we're relaxing now. You're not biting me. You think you can lick me? Yeah. It's a good girl. Look at her learning stuff. No, not biting. Just licking. Yes, licking. Licking good. Hi, crazy dog. Are you a crazy dog? Yeah. You cutums. Yeah, cutie dog. I'm teaching her to not bite me, but to lick me. Even though she's a little dog, and I'm tempted to just let her do it, I think that's a bad idea. You know, when a little dog bites a little child, the child doesn't know that, you know, that this thing isn't a vampire that's going to rip it to pieces. Some children are going to think about that, some of them won't. But it's not good to have small dogs that I don't think that bite people. I don't think that it's good if big dogs do it either. Um, I think that the relationship we have with dogs regarding different styles of aggression and different styles of play, that we have to make a like a reasonable compromise in what we want to do. Um, Hi, crazy dog. Are you a crazy fish? Yeah, we're cuddling now. We cuddle like gently. Yeah, we don't attack people's faces. We're not an alien being. She's pretty alien. No, don't do that. Don't do it. We just cuddle. That's all. No kisses. I actually am against, I'm not morally against letting dogs lick you. I did have a dog, and my friend made out with my dog once. Not for that long, but it was funny. But generally, I think that's a really, really bad idea, especially with my dogs. My dogs are involved with life and death in the forest. and occasionally they're personally involved in that. And so there's a lot of risk here of biological activity occurring if you don't decide that you want to avoid that. And I would recommend avoiding it by not kissing the dogs. Don't let them lick you. People even say don't pick up chickens because you could get salmonella. I think, I don't know, if I run a really clean coop, and I should have the optimal best coop you can imagine, all designed correctly, with just local materials and awesome chickens, probably Morans to lay chocolate covered eggs, because that's brand differentiation to have a product that's different. But then what we actually sell, we don't sell the eggs because that's not convenient for us. We got to travel around. We sell the chickens. Now, other people can start to breed Morans. That's true. And that's good for the society. And we should give them a booklet on how to ideally do that and make videos on it in Spanish. It's just a suggestion, and people like chickens. I like to eat them. They're cute to grow. And I need to get good at incubating the eggs. That's my current flaw is I don't have enough electricity to even run a small incubator. So I've either got to get someone else into it. Actually, I wonder if Jesus would. No, he travels to the States and stuff. You got to find somebody real stable. Pretty stable. It should be me. I should just get a few more panels and a battery set up for that. And even if I start with doing, 40 at a time, because I currently own an incubator that does 40 eggs, and I've got a temperature controller on it that's astounding. And last time I tried it, the only time I've tried it, I had almost full development of all the chicks, and then they all died for some unknown reason. Also, the incubator should be in a controlled, secure location. I don't think that one wasn't. That wasn't the problem. But I'm just imagining. And we probably want to include the incubator on the tour of the spaces to show people this is what an incubator looks like. Don't touch it. And have one of those posters of the incubation cycle of the chicks, and have maybe a poster that shows different breeds of chickens and how they look different. These are silly little things, and it's all online, but it would be worth the cost to even have those kind of posters, even framed, large and framed. If we can get somebody in Aronga doing good framing, that would be just great. I used to do that. That was one of my first jobs. I got fired. Oops, I was young. All right, what are we talking about? We were talking about buildings. We talked about the roof a little bit, and I think that the roof is a super valuable area, and its use should be absolutely maximized. It should probably be a concrete roof that has metal racks that have on them polycarbonate, shatterproof glass, or like, and the polycarbonate could be not white. I don't like white that much. It looks bad from Google Earth. Gray probably. Nice soft gray light. Have a little bits of blue. Just experiment. It doesn't really matter what you do, because the place should be like a plaza up there. The problem is people are dirty. Now we're trying to keep dirt from even coming into the building at any of the two main floors. There's two main floors, and if there's other floors in between connecting those two in kind of a courtyardy thing, then there's a big outlet, and through that middle courtyard, it should be big enough to run a car. Probably not big enough for two. And whether or not we have portals on both sides of that or not, a lot of this gets into the structural options we have available. In any case, out of the ends of that building shoot people on all levels. There's two main floors, and the main floor we're keeping clean. So we're trying to keep that dirt, any dirt, from going up to the roof. Well, one of the ways to do that is to never, ever have a tree that's taller than your roof. And you're still going to get leaves on your tree because you're going to have trees really close, right? You like trees as part of your building, but those leaves are going to be blown in storms up to the top of the roof. And so one of the religious activities of the space is to clean the roof and have limited areas where people walk. You figure that out. I don't know how to do that. Green roofs are great. I love them. We can incorporate green roofs, and I think that incorporating those closer to the base of the building is wiser, really regardless of whether it's north, south, east, or west facing, because each type of portal, certain kinds of plants will like to grow at. Like, hostas are a good example. Did someone tell me those are edible? Don't believe me. I might have not read that. But we have behind it levels of terraces and courtyards as well on the north side, because getting out of the hot sun is very important here as well. And we can have these oaks and other trees be built in around it as well. But we have to really plan for that. The planning for the roof area is a traffic planning issue, an issue of utility buildings, because you will have some tinacos up there, because the people right below it need water. And so you have tinacos in walled-in areas that off of that come solar panels and come the evacuated tube hot water heaters. Now, the evacuated tube hot water heaters provide shade but not rain protection. And so we would place them accordingly. Do we need a lot of those? Well, if we put them up, all that hot water's way up there and it's not coming down because of the way the system works. At that point, we need a pump. We have to have a pump to pump the colder water into the, I guess you could go either way, whether you pipe the input to the top tube or the bottom tube. Those are different. If you pumped it up to the top, then the coldest water would always be falling. It would still stratify, and you would get hot water at the top and you would get cold water at the bottom. It's just how it works as far as the tubes go. But you've got hot enough water, probably, in the lower tube of the solar hot water heater. So it could be that you collect on the roof, right? And then on your south side, out from that, is your evacuated tube solar hot water heaters. And down from that, via an insulated tube coming out of the bottom of the heater, is a very well sealed hot water spigot. And now you control hot water. Now, we went 3 stories down, I believe, didn't we? So the kitchen should probably be such that it's a very comfortable place, but it's very easy to import cold air at night. It's possible that the kitchen, we can experiment, but the kitchen should be further to the interior of the building, although having excellent ventilation, next to storage rooms that are easy for people to deliver to. They don't have to go through the kitchen to deliver to it. I guess you could have a double-doored area you go into. Root cellars for everything. Now you've unfortunately got your kitchen far from people who want to enjoy the view and eat. So we compromise on this. The kitchen, we don't know where it lives exactly. But we got to think about kind of the modularity of each function and then where we want it. For example, on all these portals around this whole building, I'm imagining that some of the upper ones, because it's on slope, right? We might plant around them and have them be very natural views in some spots. And then have other places be like plazas up above, on the ends, and certainly below, with lots of outbuildings, because we're putting people in together pretty densely. Now, the recent pandemic has indicated to us that, and certainly past civilizations have also died of pandemics, um, that we should actually have social distancing built into the building. That we do not share the same water, we do not share the same shitters much. People spray things, but let's plan for pandemic to continue. We can reduce the amount of flu even. We can have people live longer and happier and healthier by choosing how and when they're close to each other. And that's some societal decisions. We're going to talk here about the architectural ones. That's more interesting. Of course, we can't plan for every pandemic. They all have different attributes. And we can plan for this one, and we can also consider, what if it was worse? And so we limit the number of places people touch things. We have separate entrances to outdoor areas. We have pods of people that can live together, and they're very close, but then they have a social distancing with people outside of the pod. And that could be a couple, it could be an individual that's like me, on my own pod. And it could be 8 people, You could have a business of people decide that our apartment building doesn't accept visitors except in these spots in these ways. And we track everything about everyone's health all the time, so we can immediately contact trace anything. And we prefer to live in a nice sized apartment building, but we have our own restaurants, and we're essentially a gated building, a gated community with areas where people can come visit. And of course, they have certain rules and agreements with other people who don't live in the building, what their agreements are. In other words, these groups could actually be fairly large, and such a group could run a business, run several businesses, and be perhaps made of a couple large families. You can imagine, I don't know, Dunbar's number is 140 something, 44 maybe. He figures a group can have that size, and that assumes, I believe, diversity of age ranges, and then have its own customs. And I think that's totally workable. 144 is not a bad number to start with. Technology does change that, where we're able to interact, and we're able to have commerce and discussion and artistic play and things much better than we were before. We have an astounding amount of just entertainment and education. The whole world is waking up and saying hello to itself, and I don't think we've really have grasped the full effect of that, because we don't really know what it is. And I have a communications degree, and I've heard lots of speculation, and I'm sure you got your theory, maybe. But, we're being affected heavily by social media. Right now I'm talking into a little box that I'm holding. I don't know if I'd be doing that if I was alone or not. I might be doing it with them. We might do an interview or something. That'd be fun. So we go down the list of other things to identify. There are attributes to each type of, we need to call it module or something. And we've got areas where pods of whatever size could live and have it be furnished with fairly basic furniture that's really well made. Furniture buying decisions are very difficult because there's temptation to buy cheap shit. And we should really look at how we can get really local guys like Yotaturo people to build for us more beam-based, more thick cabinets and things that are absolutely mouse-proof. Various kinds of cabinets and things like that. Pedestals, shelving of things, boxes. It's a tough thing to get him to do. Mario has gotten better at it a little bit, but he needs training. He needs a real finished carpenter to show him what to do. And really, I don't even know that we should do this here. I think we should show people copies of what we want down in Aronga, woodworkers. Like buy the more expensive stuff in Pichatero, and then haul it over here. Say to the local mill, the local woodworkers, hey, this kind of shit is strong and lasts forever. This is like Shaker furniture or something. I don't know who makes good furniture. I think the Shakers make good furniture, right? And so uh, everything we build then isn't so much made for transport as you negotiate that it just stays there. Now, of course, people could still sell their stuff and buy better stuff. That's fine, or buy shittier stuff. But I think we should avoid there being shitty products available. If we can avoid that by developing a culture of kind of very heavy furniture and a culture of that you buy furniture with the place. You don't furnish it with the table and the chairs. I guess the house could have an inventory, and it should be part of the negotiation. That could get messed up. Somebody could take something that was agreed to stay. But that's why it's big, heavy furniture too. It's hard to move. You know, you don't need to furnish it with like artwork or something. People can move that around with them. And some people, if they were renting a room to somebody, might provide it with artwork. That'd be fine. But I think generally we should stay in places for, you know, a while, and then also move a lot. Like these modules, a lot of them, like residents in particular, and very small plazas in particular. I think it would be wise to have social spaces within that, so that people are encouraged to have a shared, more private plaza. And so plazas vary in privacy. In this really big, if you were imagining a whole city or something, in a building like I'm imagining, we'll just call them alcoves. And an alcove could be for whatever number of people. You know, like I mentioned, these circular kind of look out at the lake, kind of tiny harapeo things, like just enough for, what's a conversational thing? Well, you just have different purposes, you know. So you just build them in all the sizes. I was counting butts earlier on, you know, what the dimensions should be on either a circular one or one with a view. And I really like the idea of digging ones into the slope and having them have a view. I really like that. Also, because we can probably do them just with digging the dirt in, right? And then either cobbing over it, which I don't trust in the weather here. It makes your pants dirty, you know. Digging in and placing metal furniture that faces outward, that's okay. More complex stone or concrete work would be neat, but I almost think that we can use these temporary things to place to test out the spot in a way. And maybe we want it to move a little bit to the left or expand to the left. Or maybe we decide it's not used for sitting there, but it's used for something else. A bird bath. I don't know what. And so there's a variety of ways in which we would want something to be mobile before we make it stationary. But mobility often comes at an immense energy cost. So we don't want to be moving things around very often. We want to have a very slowly developing society. You know, by putting oak trees in buckets or capulin trees or whatever, nut trees in buckets for 5 to 6 years before we're willing to plant them out into a microclimate we're pretty damn certain they're going to like it. Because we really want those walnut trees to fill the buckets up with roots. And then we're like, okay, well, we can't grow you any bigger, so we're going to dig a really nice big hole for you, and we're going to fill it with whatever your kind of tree likes to eat, whatever other kind of environment. Could be terra dancino, could be manure, could be a variety of things. We could even put, you know, empty out and have a tree planting of humanure on a certain sunny day or something. before the rainy season, or I don't know when. We should actually make a list of what are the effects of every time that you empty, every time of the year that you empty out a human manure composting toilet. What then happens to that manure? The ideal would generally be, I think, I'm just making this up on the fly, I think I thought about it before, is do it just before the rainy season, knowing that it's very composted. So that means that you have to switch sides 6 months officially before you're going to harvest. And so since we want to pull some of that human manure out of there in July, especially since July is a great time to prep ground and to fill buckets with stuff and things like that, is that we actually take and empty the human manure toilets into plant reproduction systems of unknown kinds right nearby. Those could be fruit trees. That's a very good choice. And so we do that, after the first rain so that it's not dusty. And then just shovel it out into wheelbarrows and dump it around certain hungry, thirsty trees that are now going to get rain. And so, we can make a little gully around the tree and everything to keep that water flowing into the ground instead of going downhill. I don't know of other reasons you would empty them. The other thing to do is you could set up a every 6 month schedule. And so what's 6 months before June? It's like January, right? Yeah. So that's that's when you would shut one off and switch to the other side. So that's another decision that you need to make, is when do you switch sides and when do you empty it? So you would perhaps empty one out the 6 months before, because it frees up toilet space. That means maybe in January we also empty out the other side and we do our switch as well. So June and January. Now what happens to that human manure in January? Well, we aren't planting things directly. It's starting to be pretty dusty. And so, I don't know. I think that would be pretty great to dump into the barranca right now as one idea, the ravine, and make a garden down there. Because then that manure will be held there before the rains and have a lot of cycles of dew falling on it, and it will tend to maybe stay in the same place. Also, there's parts in the barranca where we're changing the way the rocks are so that it's more moist uphill from that. Well, that might be a great place to dump a bunch of manure, because then we could plant things down there that we can't plant up here. That's pretty bright, huh? It is bright. It gets rid of it. It gets it out of the way. It's a place where we don't deal with it. So there's no gross out factor for people except hauling it down there in a wheelbarrow. Hell, we could put a composting toilet right near the barranca in a way that you just get into this little room where your composted shit is, and you'd have a little walkway going up to it, and you just shovel it right out over this big hole, which is like one of the spots in the barranca where we want the manure the most. We really want to grow other kinds of stuff. We want to make the most intense microclimate with humidity, manure, and moving some rocks around. Of course, we can always dump Tierra de Encino off the edges there, away from the oak trees, and that's fine too. That's a great way to really quickly build it up, because the truth is that we don't produce hardly any human manure here. It's not like some magic, fancy, big resource that's available to us. It just isn't. The amount of shit in your shit is kind of low. Shit's kind of moist. And so you end up with, I haven't had big groups here that often. So there are issues with having like surges of people, or festivals would be different. The way I'm currently doing my toilets with the population I have, we don't have enough shit. We could use a lot more, and we could design gardens based on every composting toilet we build, to have a plan for that compost to go immediately out into probably non-edible, like not use it for lettuce, but to some kind of either beautiful or edible or both orchard that we are feeding. And then occasionally when we're switching spots, I mean, maybe we have a wall between the two gardens that we dump the stuff out of. That's an option. But then occasionally, maybe, I don't know about bringing chickens in there. I don't like mixing life systems very much. And humans, take a lot of drugs and stuff, all kinds of pills for whatever, antidepressants and shit. I'm not sure maybe then I'd really have happy chickens. Or I wonder, if caffeine goes into that dirt. I do have to look up, like, okay, which things can pass through people and which contaminants are human-based contaminants of the dirt that comes out of a composting toilet, and then make some decisions about what is this for. I mean, there's places that have pigs over fish, and the fish eat the pig shit. It's gross sounding system, but we already are shitting in holes with our composting toilets and having beetles in there and composting worms and, more importantly, thermophilic bacteria. And we're already going to have much better ways to build the toilets. So right below the toilet, we've got a source of urine, right? And we can change how we deal with that urine. We just don't want it to become ammonia. So we want it to be as fresh as possible. And if all possible, well, definitely have it be all underground and in contact with the dirt. And maybe occasionally we'll dig up a garden or something. Or I don't know. If we have like big concrete container gardens that are like tunnels, tubes. And so we're sort of dug into the ground, and that would be a really safe spot for those roots that would keep them away from tuses. And, this could be like a double-walled thing that goes around in the area of composting toilets, and also perhaps provide some visual privacy, although I really think we should go ahead and design composting toilets to have visual privacy. If plants can work into that, great. But plants are not really good for visual privacy. Other more solid materials are. And so obviously people feeling very private and safe in the toilets are important. But I think that as the output of that system, right, we've got this liquid and we've got this humanure, sometimes and other times no. And so we plant pretty hardcore plants in there. They should really be able to survive on their own, and they just thrive this way. And we can try out all kinds of trees. We can try hawthorn, which is native. Maybe the hawthorn, we'll pick a really nice one to clone it from, or grow from seed. And we put in capulines, and we put in oaks, and I think we should just make an area where we have a lot of trees quite near, easily to harvest. So it's easy to harvest from the toilet, and just dump it. Like, you don't have to take it very far. Now it's possible that we could set some of the toilets up for better harvesting systems, like especially a bigger toilet. We might want to have it be so you can have a little utility farm vehicle pull up right behind the toilet, right? Right the right level too. Like, it's worth it to make it easy. Or a pickup truck would be another case where a pickup truck is quite ubiquitous. So I'd rather imagine little cute carts that are electric, and they do have electric wheelbarrows. I don't know what the reviews on those are, but carts are ultimately it. And so the trails around it, the access to the harvesting doors, has to be such that a cart of some kind, I don't know what size, and maybe even a pickup truck, but a cart at least should be able to go up to it and harvest from it at the same level as the height of the cart, just filling it all in there. And then that goes away because now it's in a cart, right? A cart's not hard to move. So all of a sudden we're not limited to just having humanure right there. We can go deliver it to places where it can get used. And those could be private gardens or public gardens. Some people would be willing to buy it and use it, right? And it has 6 months, and we certify it, and we've got our microscopes, and we're checking it out, making sure that we're making good compost. We will guarantee it's not human shit anymore. It's been processed. And in order to say that, we have to improve our system a little bit. We may want to set it up so thermophilic bacteria have the first kick at it, and then the dung beetles do, although the dung beetles like the fresh stuff. So who knows on that. Barely matters when the worms come into it. The worms are just going to move around to the place that they're most comfortable. If the toilet is large enough, if the chamber is large enough, then not all of the worms will die. And we do have to wonder about surge times. And it could be that during surge times, we actually have special toilets with extra biological material in them and more stuff to dump into it. And so we have a really big toilet because we know we have a huge party once a year. And it's easier to make a big room than to make some toilet on wheels or something. We could invent it could be a surge toilet. It's a little weird because I guess it's all right. If you're having a surge event every 6 months, then you empty it before the surge. It's had 6 months. You get your surge, and then it composts for 6 months, and you harvest it again. It's no different. This could just be that we make a lot of toilets with better access and bigger. The thing is that surges are going to be only in certain places at certain times, and we don't know that. So we need to leave a lot of space on slopes for potential composting toilets in locations where we might want one. The town of Yotatiro could use this, actually, because there's a couple big parties a year, and the rest of the time there is nothing. And if all that shit went into a composting toilet instead of a weird hole in the ground that stinks, or into a commercial mobile toilet, which there was a really cute one of those at a Harapeo once. I thought it was neat. It was a really good business idea because he's just collecting some poop. I don't know if he dumps the water somewhere else. The community could even help with that if you want mobile ones. It could be that you have a mobile urine thing because it's a lot easier to build a urine thing than it is a whole poo system. And so having a urine thing near the composting toilets is not a bad idea. Often we want a roof between things because of sun and rain. So I don't know. Designing the composting toilets is this huge, complex problem. But the key is invest more into it up front. Make it easy to maintain. And I've learned a lot of things about that here, living here. I got a lot more to learn, and I know a bunch of what I don't know. I'm aware of what I don't know. So I've got lots of cool questions that we can get answered. I'll ask more of them on Quora. I'll locate people who are expert in each area. Some people know more about urine, or some people know about medicine going through the human body, or they know about composting worms and types of composting worms and what temperatures they can handle or something. I don't know. It'd be fun to read about dung beetles, but they take care of themselves, so I don't know if I care about them. The composting toilets do need to be made insect-proof. I've learned that. I have cockroaches in one of them, the one I use. I kill the cockroaches every time I see them. They're not very fast. But they're in there, and I don't like them. They can crawl up the hole more. You rarely see a beetle, and my reaction emotionally to a cockroach is colossally different than to a dung beetle. If I see a dung beetle, I just sweep into the hole, or I ignore it. I don't care. They don't have a flying stage, so they're not going to ever fly up your butt. Anyway, so we may need to improve our ordering of, for example, if we had a ramped composting toilet that comes out somewhere else, then that shit could be in there for a long time. It would fall down with the gravity, as long as we have the right angle of gravity. And that's a really good, interesting physics question. What is the right angle for the falling of poo that a bunch of the urine we put in a different place? We moved it somewhere else. And so it's drier poo than normal. And we want it to slowly fall down the slope, going through phases of whichever animal. The bacteria, the worms, or the dung beetle want to be at whatever position within the sloped thing. It has to be a big enough sloped thing where we can actually get in there with a shovel and shovel it down if we had to. Now, we want to trust that slope. We want to get the slope right. If we had to, we could make the slope a little too much and have a big room at the end, at the bottom, that fills up with poo. That's okay. And then we can empty out the big room instead of the chute, right? The fear is that the poo gets stuck in the chute and that the chute fills up. And so this has to do with the angle and the consistency of the poo and how far you want to go too. Although theoretically, if you got it right, it can go a long way. And the ideal is if you dropped something in it now, it would take at least 6 months to get to the place you harvest it. And so we're having a long process, a processing plant, that we can check things at the bottom and we can make sure we left it for at least 6 months and it's easy to harvest out of. Well, it just got bigger, didn't it? Isn't that annoying? That's pretty annoying. So I don't like it. I mean, do you have some access hatches or something? People are really big. Could you send down a robot to push the poo down the shaft? Well, maybe. I mean, robot technology is getting better, and they might as well do the shitty jobs we don't want to do. I generally don't like it because it breaks the model of the big square box. It's this process-based thing rather than batch-based. And I trust batch-based better because I could better monitor a batch, I think. Also, I feel like the sloped things are going to take up more floor space. And I'm really jealous about floor space and composting toilets. Now, perhaps, if we put a composting toilet on a slope and we had the doors facing away from the slope, which is normal. Normally the doors are below it. And then what can we really put below that? What if we dug a big ditch, And then we like a big ditch. And then we Pharaoh cemented over that enough to have plants over it. We made spaces where it was a concrete passway, and so it basically make a tunnel, make a shit tunnel going downhill. It's underground. It's feeding the earth around it at whatever level is appropriate. So we can plant trees right around it. We want to I think we should make it big enough so we could walk through it if we had to. But it's downwards, and we can even put handles on the side or something. And if it's underground, then we're not wasting any space. Plus, we're probably never going to go in it if we do it right, if we do it the right angle. It should be a high angle. It should be like off the view over here or something. And we can experiment with lower angles and different types of, widths and stuff. But if it's a nice tunnel, then we could always clean it out with water. That's an option. We could even do that every rainy season. If there was a big pond at the bottom or a big chamber, we could, at a certain time during the year, we could decide, okay, we've got a bunch of water. We're just wasting it. We're going to wash it out. And it's going to be in the most rainy part of the season, so maybe there's more moisture to dilute it with, because we might want to mix it with other earth. It depends on how long it took to get there. And we do have to learn that. We can learn that with markers. We'll make a marker that moves at the speed of the poo, and, we should have temperature sensors all along it so we can measure the temperature. Perhaps humidity sensors. What if it dries out on the way down? What if we always have to add water? Then we're just flushing a big toilet. I was thinking about water once a year, to kind of clean it out, go in there and check it out if you have to. Remove any weird garbage, although that can all be done at the bottom. That's the thing is, if it's done in the right way, it's just a tunnel. We cover it up with the ferro cement. We have all this really nice plant life next to it. Maybe at the top we plant a lot more flowers, things that, aren't food at all. I still want to wonder about things like fruit trees and the things that pass through a human body and whether it goes into a fruit tree. But maybe up above, right near the composting toilet is just this beautiful flower garden. I mean, it's got more water because of people peeing, right? It's got more water because we should set up a hand washing station. So there should be wastewater there. We don't get toilet water. We do get the urine. Did I mention that? We get the very useful humanure. In this case, the humanure is in a trench already. And one of the reasons we might need to go into the tunnel is because we didn't finish the sides of it with concrete. And so roots are going to come into the tunnel. So we may need to go in there and cut roots. But the roots that are right next to the tunnel in that dirt there are going to love it. They're going to be so well nourished, right? Because they're getting whatever the freshest amount of humanure that they can deal with is. It's an interesting, odd plan. My point here is we can probably brainstorm a whole bunch of ways to do composting toilets. Like some people think you can't do them in an apartment building. I believe if we designed a building correctly, with the intention of fully processing all the humanure, it wouldn't be difficult at all. It's a very limited number of problems. It's a lot easier than a water system, a bunch of pipes, a sewage system, a sewage treatment plant. It's more useful in keeping nutrients near your garden and your food, because you're shipping your nutrients off somewhere else. I think, aren't there shit processing plants that actually sell the product they make? You're giving away your product. Now, it's a shitty product that you don't feel like dealing with. That makes sense. If the building is designed correctly, you don't have to deal with the shitty problem. Now, it's true. I've had some questions about how it would work to have the composting toilets over composting toilets. I know I want the shit to fall straight down the hole. It could go forward down to the next floor on a slanted thing and be in like a, fully enclosed closet thing or building or room. And that would work. So the place you harvest your shit out of is just one floor below you and a little bit over. And since the way I'm imagining the ownership of these buildings, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that that's coming out of the landlord's control. Like where those go should be a controlled location. It has locked, metal doors. It might be really handy to have them be separated by place, because the truth is they don't fill up all that quick. And if they were a little bit taller like a closet, it depends. There's ways to design it, is my point. In this case, we have to think multi-floor, and it helps if we have the same owner who owns the whole thing, and they can either monitor that or the individual can monitor it. It depends on how their society is set up. So that's doable. We got that solved. Get a little tired. The puppy's already sleeping, because that's what the puppy does all night, which is great. Because the puppy's a bundle of joy, but a lot of work, actually, when she's awake. Because she's a whole person, really. Hi, little person. Hi there. Oh, you cute, Yeah, sometimes she dreams, which of course is always cute. I don't know what she dreams about, but lately she's been trying to chase birds. Because my dogs aren't really that bright. Like, chase something, well, that's fine. I think it's hilarious. It's just fine with me. Hey, cutie baby. One problem, and this is solved already in this culture, is that public bathrooms suck. Hey there. Um, they don't have someone responsible for them. That's the problem. They're not privately owned, and so they tend to suck. So I don't care if people want to build saunas or something like that or whatever system. Uh, in fact, I hope they do because I want to take a shower. Um, but in remote locations where there isn't an organization who's willing to invest in a system that is manned or personed, right, or handled in an automated way, that I'm not that big into automation anyway. I like more social environments. I think that's how we're bred to live, and that's the thing we can maintain well. So, um, remote bathroom locations are more difficult. It would be great if we could have those be attached to some other thing that, by definition, is remote. Now, we've already got some places that are remote because of noise issues, but that's not really what I'm imagining, like industrial spaces where there's, woodworking or a forge or something like that. I know that I would like a toilet um, at the north gate and the south gate, which are luckily both places where I want entries. Now, there's actually two spots on the south gate. In fact, there's three total. Nope, there's four total on the south side. Should be planned for. We don't have to build them right now because it would be impossible. We don't have the resources. But we cannot fuck up the design by doing the wrong thing in the wrong place. And so we can plan for four places. Why? Well, and maybe in the parking lot across the street, whoever can buy that piece of property. As soon as someone arrives to a location, they should have access to a toilet that they can crap in and or pee in. They should have both. They should have easy access. Now, the problem with public ones where anybody can get at them is they get garbage in them and they get dirty and things like that. So we want these planned gatehouses to be like little plazas. We want to be pretty big because we want people to be able to pull their car somewhere near it. If we can't get the parking lot across the road, even if we can, let's plan that we don't have it. Okay, there could be an issue with, a legal issue with it or something. So we plan for parking. Perhaps we plan for some places to pull through. So you pull in one place and you go in a big circle and you pull out the other. Maybe you go all the way around Cute Hill. That's a crazy idea, but we want to use that south side for maximum benefit to a potentially public audience. And so you need to be able to pull your car in or get out of a public transport thing, walk right over to a place to poo, and have an available poo place that's clean right away. Well, these spots are now, we're talking about them at the size where they would probably have some businesses in addition. So you have the toilet be associated with the business. And that's what they do here. They actually charge you to use the toilet here. They don't charge you at the restaurant because you're ordering enough food that they don't give a shit. And so certainly having toilets within restaurants is a good idea, but there's a reason to have one that you can enter from the public without going into the restaurant, but it's somehow attached to the office or the kitchen or the administrative staff of the restaurant. So it's easy to man, without using any additional labor, the toilet. And it could be the toilet even has a buzzer, but it's in a place where you have a business running 24 hours a day. Somebody's available 24 hours a day. Now, maybe you have some toilets that you have separate from that you don't have open all day, that you open up and it says public toilet. And then you have hours for it because it's not manned. There's no person taking care of it. Now, it could be, you could easily imagine a place with security cameras and motion sensitive lighting would be great. So it could be that we can use some social architectural methods of having people have a greater level of respect for the toilet, and that they feel like when they've entered the toilet and left the toilet, they've been recorded. In fact, it would be worth it if they were. Not while they're doing their business, but, knowing what cars pull up into anywhere on the south side, having the license plate be photographed, having every person have very sharp images of them, I think is wise for security. And we also like to know who people are. We could even have people we know, we could, have a private app or something and say, hey, so-and-so's here. And that could actually be helpful because then people who like that person could go find them. That'd be a great idea. I love it. Maybe you get your message and then you wait a certain few minutes, call up and you say, hey, I heard you're here. That's that would be an amazing thing for customer service. It could be that we have a gas station. Now, Pemex controls that whole system. It could be we go with a different brand, or maybe we want a Pemex there. I don't like Pemex if it's associated with an OXO much. But people need gasoline, right? And it's in a spot pretty far from gasoline. You'd have to go down the bad road, or you'd have to go all the way over through Yotatira and Zarzamora. And there's that intersection up there by Bolmaro's land. That'd be a pretty cool place to zone out an entire business area, a big plaza. There's some avocado trees up there. There's not a lot of flat land, but we could make some. We could figure that out. I would have to improve the road from Zarzamora a lot because it's a shitty road. We'd have to improve the road to Pichatro a lot because it's a shitty road. But all that land right in there would become very valuable. Now there's that spot up above where there's some water and it dries out during the rainy season, but it looks pretty it dries out during the dry season. It looks really pretty during the rainy season. So it's actually potentially like a park. I've walked up there. I've had a picnic up there, and it's pretty cool. Now, going in the rainy season is a little tough. And also the problem is during the dry season, it dries up. I don't know if it fully dries up, but it looks shitty. So what you want to do there is you want to make a big, thick hiking trail away from each area of that barranca, each side of it. And you want to have one go up and one come down. That makes it a very different experience for controlling the space, for controlling the experience of the person and serving them well, so that they can go up through this spot, up through this trail that has art on it and spots to sit, might have a spot for snacks, Definitely the main thing we really want is above the barranca. It's almost a place to put a plaza. I don't know, I haven't walked up there much, but if there can be a big roof up there, this is what we're really looking for. We're looking for a big roof. Maybe Salon de Eventos size. Maybe with a stage. Maybe we make a building like they have in Yotatiro. And that this becomes a Salon de Eventos. If you had parking there, it's a fairly central place for some places. You could get Zarzamora traffic. You'd have a tough time getting Aranga traffic. It's pretty far. But the roads are better. If they get improved, and people do like being out in nature. Now, I'm imagining down in the middle of this beautiful rocky spot that is already a natural sculpture, that at the bottom of that, you could put in a big drain that was easy to clean, right? And put a few rock barriers in the whole thing if you want to. Plant for koi in it. Maybe koi could live in it well. I don't know if it's too cold. We'd have to check that out. We might do things that heat it up, like black rocks and things. But at different spots, there's trails into those pools, down to those pools. So you can stand or sit in beautiful spots next to this fake river, because off that drain, we bury a hose that goes all the way to the top. And we have enough water, because it's worth it, so that all day long, we have enough solar panels, so that most all day long, water's flowing up that tube. Doesn't have to be a real big tube. We could have big tubes and small tubes, so that You know, some of it runs during when it's really sunny out, and some of it, barely runs when it isn't. I don't know. But it's a beautiful spot. And this is another point, is below that spot, there's a rocky ravine. It's very tough. It's very different than the soft one that's above. And I'm not sure how that can be used exactly. It should not be used to dump garbage into, that's for sure. I'm not sure if on the east side of it, if there'd be a way to get through the forest. And the thing is, what we don't want are trails that go straight down into the barranca, right? So why do we need to dig these trails away from the barranca? It's because we want things that are easy to use for a number of people, with things like spots to sit, or a comfort station somewhere, like a place to poo. It depends, how this place works out. But we want to go have a trailhead start below and then go straight up into the barranca, not down the hill down into it, but upslope. So we're making trails that are upslope. And we can either have those trails pull water out of the barranca, or we can put it in. And there may be pools sometimes down there where we dig a hole down to a pool. I'm thinking about the rough area down there. And we have all these special, amazing spots down there that are near a road. And so this is a perfect spot to make a park that people can go and explore. And that there's, some services available. There could be a campground over there. It's already got the road there. And the road is an expensive thing to put in. And then flattening spots is an expensive thing to do. And then building is expensive. But you want to use spaces for the best use that they have. So that's why I talk about like these spots down on the south side of the property. Like there's nobody going by down there. It's ridiculous to think about building down there. But if you plan it correctly, then if there are people, and there often are in human development, and if you build a cool place, there definitely will be more people, and I want to build a cool place. So I want to be prepared for more people. And the point to do that is at the design stage. Now the north side, I actually want to build a whole parking lot that is up. We're up from where the bees are, basically. Kind of through the middle of it, basically. And then have it be big enough that it can actually hold a fair number of cars. And I don't know, there's limits to how much I can build. I don't think I can build a thing big enough for a tour bus. But maybe I could. If that road below it was improved, and if a tour bus could pull in like a bus does, then who knows? Maybe that's an option. That's a crazy thing. But I can at least build a parking lot there and separate that so that I have control over who comes into the space through that. So there's a guardhouse there. And really there should be several levels of guardhouse as you enter the entire property. Different spaces should be walled off and have buildings at different key points. And they're essentially staff buildings. They're maybe not the same as the art buildings, or the little clusters that guests stay at. But it's hard to picture it right now. But I want to be able to control the flow of people through the property. You should be able to go in the upper gate, the upper south gate, which would be southwest, southwest gate, which currently has cedar trees growing over it and should be all changed totally. Ideally, I would figure out a way, and this is a bunch of work, to get somebody from that spot there all the way, unable to get into the rest of the Bosque, all the way down to the mesa. An entryway that's controlled entryway into the mesa. And I think we should have controlled entryways to the middle spot and the lower spot, and the main spot and then the lower spot. So how to do that is a trick, and I don't know how to do that, but it involves walls, and those walls should be planned to be part of buildings in most cases. Because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to build a wall buildings are useful. They're especially useful at entries and exits. And they're useful when that becomes a public road, potentially. So we just have to plan for those. We're going to build them. But so I hate to build just a wall. Also, a wall is not very secure. It doesn't feel secure enough to me. Because you could easily make something somebody could drive up to and jump over. Don't like that. So, and that's for the south side then. So the Mesa area should have its own level of control. There could be a road in from the bottom place. It could go by the casita and could go all the way to the dimple. And the dimple could be a controlled space. And so there'd be like a big car door there. And so the only way you can get into it is if you go by this building, which probably has people and definitely has motion sensitive lights and cameras, and go through one of those doors. And then there's a pedestrian door too. And that pedestrian door should have a key card. So we can move vehicles or people at the scale that they should be moved into various spaces. And you should be able to walk down through that car door without even going into the building. So they're not all key cards into buildings. I mean, there might be a shelter there to keep it clean, the door clean. But this way people can walk around at night and have mixed levels of access to different neighborhoods. And that's very useful because some neighborhoods will shut down at night. Or some neighborhoods you can only go there if you're a guest. Other neighborhoods would be public for guests or for retail. So designing this is fairly tricky. The north side, we got the parking lot. We'll probably put the building into the slope and then divide that whole area so that half of that area is private and half of it is public. Maybe. Maybe not. Because I might want people to be able to get to the Barranca. Although we can always have spaces we lead people to, and then that's their spot. So somebody obviously needs to be able to find a way to have the door get open to get to the nexus, the mesa. So both those areas at the top probably have to be bisected by the road. That's the easiest place to start bisecting them. And so we put buildings up and down from the road. The ones down from it perhaps are set up to be like decks. Perhaps we're planning to have that be a big park down there pretty much. I don't know. There's a lot of choices to be made. So let's talk about upslope and downslope a little bit. Hi, sweetie. She woke up. Hey. I'm talking a lot? Yeah. Upslope and downslope roads are very different than roads that follow the contour. We're not going on a grid system here. Any road we can make on a contour, we make on a contour because it's really smart. It's farther, but it still reaches many places. And they don't have to be closer together because of it, because we want a lot of natural space anyway. Because the grid system is set up to put a lot of things into as efficient and small space as possible, right? And it's not even designed the way I would do it. I would have, for every 2 blocks, have 1 block be plaza and one block be park. And there can be trees in the plaza, but some kind of park, and they could vary what kind. And these are put in a diagonal pattern so that you always live near a park and you always live near a plaza. You don't have to, and we could have blocks where that wasn't the case. Not everybody wants to live in the plaza. I don't know who would object to a park. But the value of these units, of these houses, would be skyrocketingly higher than one that is in just a concreted place. You could have portals on every single building. This is very expensive, isn't it? But it's totally worth it. It's the ideal way to live. In any case, near any of these buildings, we need to have a lot of outdoor areas. Let's get back to the upslope roads. Here at this project, the first roads that will get built to be paved, well, the first ones that get built are the ones on contour. Those get dug out, and then we reevaluate. We try and put those where we should put them. We make that attempt, and that depends on the map that we initially make. It depends on where views are at. It depends on where some cool rocks are. You know, a tree we don't want to kill. But we pick the right spots, and we plan for how buildings are going to relate to those slopes. No, sorry, those things on contour, the roads on contour. At first, we can also use those as swales, so we can use them to tip them in a way that we channel water to where we want it to go. And we might start out with a key line system of moving it towards ridges. There's other cases where we might want a place to be wetter for agricultural reasons, for example. And so, in fact, I have a spot like that. And I have another spot like that too. Later on, if buildings are put near those roads, now I'm not saying all along it necessarily, but if buildings are put near that, those are going to capture water. And that water can add to what that road is able to deliver. Additionally, those will eventually get paved. And so we'll want that water to go to the right places where we can handle it, where we expect it. Get back to those upslope roads. So we don't have to pave those ones along slope right away, along contour, but we do have to pave the ones that go up. And we're going to have those ones be shorter. This is in the pattern language book. As many as possible, these roads should be one way. That would be great. And there should be pedestrian-friendly roads that we make that cars don't even go on. It could be bike roads. We could have covered roads, double-decker roads for people. I'm talking about people. So ways to walk between places. Ideally, you should be able to walk all through the Bosque and never have to deal with cars. That would be the big win. You know, if you had a few places where you couldn't work that out design-wise, okay. But it's a great goal to have people power be more important than car power. Now, the roads we think about a lot because we have to think a lot about them because, you know, there are big machines go on them and stuff. But it's the people's experience that we want to be best. And so we want to have trails that, I mean, they may have overpasses. We could have spots where the landscape is such that the vehicle is lower than the spots around it, and we could put bridges across spots. We could build buildings and put bridges into places and ramps. We can do whatever we want. But I want that pedestrian experience to still exist because I don't want it to be a car culture anyway. I mean, hopefully those roads would be one way and used for carts. You know, I'd love to have more carts and electric vehicles than motor vehicles. If I could have no motor vehicles in the Bosque, that'd be great. In fact, you know, that's doable. They're getting better all the time. And the ones that are here could be better. Like it could be like a trolley. I almost like the idea of like New York style trolleys that hauled people around where you grab on the outside, you know, and you just barely have to get in there. A trolley system would be amazing. It could be that that's silly and that a larger number of small electric vehicles would be better. That's probably better. The thing is that I wouldn't want people driving around a ton in here, so hopefully most people won't be driving around the Bosque. And we can plan for deliveries to come in from the north, or we can have them come in from the south. You know? We can have those deliveries using gasoline trucks, deliver things to places high on the property that were storage spots for those things with a plan for how we move them downhill. Now, if we're going to move them downhill, we want that to be paved because it's going to be slippery and the rain's going to go down it if you didn't plan it right. And also, right now, I can't get my van up the road because it becomes mud. So I've gotten stuck before, and that's not convenient. And not everybody should have to have a four-wheel drive. Now, that only happens part of the year. But the other part of the year, it's dusty. And so certainly it's useful to pave roads. And the ones that get worst, the ones that get all lumpy and stuff and you have to kind of skid up them and stuff, are the ones that go up and down because of the rains. So the first paving projects will be up-down roads at Bosque Village. And then maybe I'll choose some others as well. You know, I could choose a space because it's high traffic, and that's where dust happens, right here by the view. Although ideally I wouldn't be parked here. Ideally I would pull over, drop my shit off, and go put my van somewhere where it didn't look as ugly. Although there's uses to be near your vehicle. So, and I was planning to set up parking for camping, parking by your vehicle or small RVs and stuff. So who knows? But paving certain areas that are dangerous right now would be good. I would pave the Barranca, except that I want to bulldoze a bunch of dirt into there, and I want to level it out instead. So I got a big plan for that. And I wouldn't pave the far side. It's fine. It's flat. I would dig that out with bulldozers first and make there are wider spots in the road. Make it so that it's a two-lane road. Most of the roads are one lane right now because that is by far the best. So up-down roads. Well, I need to draw the rest of them too. I need to plan for all of them. There's other ones that aren't as bad, so I could get away with just doing two of them right now. Two roads I would need to pave a short distance to connect one of the contour roads to the other one. But then also, I'm not sure which way things are going to go, and I want to bulldoze out those spots so it's big enough so you can turn either way. That's a very useful thing to do. That's because I don't know which direction things have to work, and they should work in both directions. There should also be pullouts. A lot of places where people could pull out and pass if they had to. Now, it sounds like I'm being a wuss and I'm going for two-lane roads, but no. I want signs that say which way you go on that road in every case, except a couple. Like the road from the Green Gate in the north down should be big enough for two cars. Because if I ever need to get a lot of people in or out, I want that to be big enough. So, and it's tempting all along that upper line of it to dig it out deep enough that I could put a row of buildings there. And they'd be short buildings that were secure, tall enough to be secure. Perhaps two-story, that's pretty big. And that would mess things up for the building up above it a little bit, although that I want to put pretty far up, I've decided. So, and it could channel water down to that building real easy. So if it's capturing water really well, then all those buildings along the bottom there will all have water. And some of them could have rooftop things that are private. Some of them could have rooftop things that are public, but I'd rather not do the public ones. Because if I want rooftop things that are public, I want them to be down below that road. I want causeways to go out to buildings that are built in at the right level so that you can see over them, so that you stand on them like a deck. A whole bunch of decks out there, you know? And I can then think about, if I dig down and make sure the foundations are correct, I can attach these together into different forms. It'd be cooler if you could do it all at once, but I'm trying to figure out a way to piecemeal it together, you know, so that you go out and you've got your dirt ramp out. It's a park. It's beautiful. And you go out to a plaza out there, and there's ramps to go down, probably on that same level right there as you come out. There's a ramp that goes down, probably on either side of that thing, if it's wide enough. There's a building at the end. That building at the end is somewhat separated from the rock wall that's holding back the dirt that you put out there. Probably has something built into that too. So you have a cooler spot to be. That's a welcoming center. That's planned that it's going to be for general milling about use, because the ramps that go down to other places and other causeways hook to other decks. Meaning that I've got a whole bunch of businesses or spaces for people or fire pits or caretaker housing, whatever needs to be down there, leaves this big plaza on top. And that plaza does not need to have the solar panels, doesn't need to have the hot water collectors. It could have a hot water collector. But ideally, if I've got enough solar panels elsewhere, I can put down in wherever I need to, whatever electricity I want. And I don't need much. I probably mostly need lighting, although I should plan for everything. And later on, I can, the poles that hold up those plazas, I can fill in some of them and fill in not some of them. And I should ask about that, because, maybe they should be straw bale in some cases to keep sound down. I don't want to be like a parking lot. Maybe I have adobe that fills them up. It works. I've tried it. It separates a little bit from the concrete pole, but not entirely. And maybe some of them have concrete wall, with or without a door, with or without surfaces. But whatever purposes happen down there, we build a structure, and we figure out what to put where. Now, of course, we try and figure it out first. But in this case, I'm thinking about the public. I'm thinking about serving people. And in that area, having all those plazas would be astoundingly gorgeous. It would be fantastic. You could even have one that ramps up and is higher, an area. How tall those buildings are can vary. So you could have an upper layer in some spots above to be even higher up. And that might be, amazing views up there. Maybe you have one of those circular things where a bunch of people can sit and talk and look at the lake. It's gorgeous. So that's a vision for that area. So the guardhouse, the big building. There's a spot that's highest up on that side. It's tempting to put a tower up there. It just looks like a place a tower should be. I would expect that you have to plan for all transport above and below everywhere. And so I've got that plan. Up near that tower would be the primary connection, double lane road to connect to whatever's up there. I've walked around up there. You might have a walking trail, a single lane road that goes from the tower up to the high point. The high point is, I think I'm going to leave it mostly as it is. I could cut down trees and make view there, but I've got all this other view I'm developing. And so I rather feel like it feels different up there, and I'd like to leave it the way it is. If you sweep down the leaves there, you'll find a bunch of rocks that these guys brought up there. They're flat rocks, so there's, it could be cleaned up so people could sit down. Maybe have some metal furniture up there. But I don't feel like cutting those trees down. They feel good up there. Could change my mind later, but I don't change it that often. Below that, above the parking lot, but what could be open to the public, is a shrine. There's a spot that's built into, it's a curve into the slope. And it just makes me think that it should be dug out in different levels, and something perhaps of rock, something beautiful could be in there, and perhaps a figure within that. and I don't know what the figure is. I've thought of a lot of things. Um, Maybe make it mannequin sized. I like big. Maybe make it so that it's lit at night. Although I don't want anyone out there at night, so don't do that. Don't even have candles put on it, probably. Maybe have lights that only come on during the day but look like candles. That'd be fine. That'd be easy. So when there's solar power, there's these little flickering bulbs in there. And who to put in there, I don't know. It probably shouldn't be Mary. Don't want to cause too many people to come here. Could be Galileo. There's a reason for that. It could be some perpetua god or goddess or both. You can make two of them that could kind of face each other a little bit. Could plant magueys around it. Flatten out the land down below it. Put in metal chairs or concrete ones that can't be stolen. But perhaps have that be a near public shrine. Perhaps. Perhaps make it a shrine that is in a secret place and only tell kids in Yotatira, and you have to go ask them because they won't tell you. Although somebody will just GPS it, so you can't keep secrets anymore. But I don't know if I want the public coming in like that. So maybe I think about it, build it. Maybe I build it there. Maybe I build it elsewhere. But I want to build shrines. For people who are in the Bosque in different ways, I want them to have meaningful locations to go to that inspire certain kinds of thought and various kinds of thought. Places to be alone, places to be with other people, places to see pretty flowers, places to watch birds, places to see the sunrise. That's a critical one. I've got one. It needs to be cleaned up. Places to see the sunset is tougher, and I haven't checked certain places enough, but the views become a little bit better and will probably improve. Cute Hill was the first place that got developed, but it's not developed now. The bench fell down, trees grew up and blocked the view of the sunset. So I'd have to cut some trees. I don't feel like cutting. But I do need really awesome sunset spots. So actually what I have to do is go out and walk around at sunset and look for spots where it's good or where I can make it be good. The thing is, the sunrises here are much better. And that's a reason for people also to get out of bed early, enjoy the best art in the sky that there is. And I'll try and build a warm building for that. In the nighttime, I feel like when it's sun's going down, you should be getting your shit ready for it to be dark. Because I want people to either go to sleep or do interesting stuff when it's dark. And staying in your little cabin, just sitting by yourself could be a good thing to do. I'm not saying what a good thing is, but I think there should be options for fun places to be that are lit by LED lights, that we plan on having enough electricity for that. This is really easy to do. Smaller lights are better and prettier. And then some places can have a spotlight on it. But for navigational purposes, we don't need that much light. And it should be distributed. So that's a whole nother topic, where there should be lit places to go to, which is what I'm talking about. But you also need to have your personal light as well. In general, though, it'll be kind of dark at night. There should always be a fire, and he needed a place for a good fire inside. I've got two good ones. But I want to have one that's more of a semi-outdoor space. Because there's a lot of nights where it's not that cold out, and buildings are hard to run, and you got to do work, and there's activities in them. I want to have an outdoor fire at a pagoda of some kind, although they often have a pole in the middle. But fire that has lighting as well, and has protection from rain, and is surrounded by places to sit. The whole thing. And a covered spot to barbecue, and water, and a composting toilet. Geez, plans get out of hand real quick with me. I'm just gonna have a covered area, geez. But you got to have comfort stations, and you need lighting, and if you're standing there, you might as well cook something, like meat. I like meat at night. That it's good. Like you could have chunks of meat on a metal stick or something. But then you need water to wash your hands for the toilet. And you often need water when you're doing some kind of cooking thing. Not always. You could do it the right way. But the idea is something that's not behind a door. Because my other two fireplaces are behind doors. And those are controlled spaces by hosts, people that host that space. And events will often occur in them that have particular meaning and need more electricity or more facilities. And so having an outdoor space that has these attributes, I think is absolutely critical. And I think it should be somewhere. Let me decide where. I'm already thinking about an upper place that I don't want to put it because I'm going to put something else there, a building eventually. Could be a lower place. Lower Alicante could have it because people walk also from the view to the lodge a lot. It's a very common route. I could have it be near to internet. Interesting idea. However, internet is going to be everywhere later because I'm going to try and get Starlink or some other service or expand this one's locations. So that doesn't really limit it as much as it sounds like it does. However, I have a spot near here that I could probably put a pagoda in. In fact, I know where it could be. Down here on this big, huge park I'm doing, right? I've got the Cedar Dome. South from that, I've got an area that I'm going to clear out a little bit more, and I'm probably not ever going to wall it or anything. I don't want to wall a lot of stuff right in there because I might wall stuff in below it. I want to wall it in with green. And it has enough space that it could have a pagoda in it. You know what? I don't like that idea though, because it's a nice park as it is. I could always put tiny lights in it or something if it felt like it. I think an area nearby, right across the road, might be better. A pagoda right there. Also, that pagoda is in a really hugely important intersection. There's a road that goes uphill. There's a road that goes somewhere else. Or I could have put it over by Nexus. That'd be farther away. It's not on the way to something. That's bad. This one would have to be placed so that I could keep it on the side of everything. Because I want to control who walks into other parts of the Bosque. And there can be more than one of these. And actually, it doesn't have to be a pagoda. So the idea just changed it a little bit. All it has to be is a protected area that is mostly open and has some wind protection. Perhaps even grow plants over it. How big is it? You should be able to stand anywhere around the fire. It should be a 360-degree fire. It should have a hood on top that takes the smoke out. I'll put a similar one, no hood, a similar fire over in the cedar thing over there. People go walk from one fire to another. That works out pretty well. I might wall in the spots north of the cedar dome. Seems like it would look real ugly. I could have some spots that stick in a little bit that you could be covered and just be there. I could have some spots that had a covering and sold things out of it. But then I'm using the interior space in a way I don't necessarily want to. I like the windy trail and little alcoves better. Much better. There could be entry control on it, but I've got plenty of other spaces that would be better to put, things that act like a building. And really, I want this to be about groves of trees. I've got a whole list of groves of trees that are really cool, that are protected. Meaning I will do things around them, but that'll protect them. There's the grove on the other side of the Barranca. It's an oak grove. It's pretty neat. It's very dense oaks. I've got the grove called the Nook that's on the slope that goes down towards the north from the south side down into the Barranca. That's a very exciting grove. And I want to put some parallel trails in there that are on contour and see what that space is all about. See what happens there. There's also a tree down there that doesn't exist elsewhere. That's in the Barranca, actually, but it's right next to it. There's a grove of trees right over there. It's a cedar one. No, sorry, it's pine and oak. I might have to cut it down. There's a grove of trees over here with the view that are protected, and they're huge. There's a grove of trees over by a really big tree, and it's on both sides of the road that go off to Cosmic and Truth, and that is a magic forest. I do not know what its future is, because of the way it is, it's probably going to turn into a very different kind of forest. But that might not be a bad forest to have there. That's very dense. I'm not sure. And then I've got a forest I'm growing over near the Barranca. And it self-planted, just like the one here at the View did. It was cut down later. And I put nopales there. They're now getting shaded out. The dominant plant in there is black oak, and I like those. And I, in other places, am topping off pines, and I'll probably do that there. And I'm going to kill all the white oaks. There's not very many of them. They all die. And then I've got the new grove down at Alicante that is going to be plants that people like more. So, and then I've got some other ones, but they don't have names, and I got no plan for them. But there's like a big pine one that actually might be good for camping. I think it could be, because it's also near a spot that people could park if I was to cut down the shit that's there. But yeah, I could probably have parking up there for 12, 15 cars. And if each one of them has a tent or two, average of 1.5 tents, average of 2 people per tent or something, then that would be a pretty, nice size group. Well, I'm all talked out. I think I said that before, a long time ago. Goodbye. But I hope you enjoyed this video. It gives you the randomness of the ideas I have and how I connect them together, and how we can come up with a whole different kind of buildings and energy systems and change everything about how we live and save the entire planet and our civilization, or have some of it left. The point of the whole video, hi honey, was she's trying to go to sleep, was that she's in trouble. Frida's in trouble. And she stole my covers, but the problem is I haven't actually made my bed in a long time, and so it's not a surprise that things kind of migrate around. But that's a good point, is like, you don't have to make your bed. In fact, I question that as a cultural thing. In fact, I question everything everybody tells me to do. I think it would actually maybe be more hygienic if you took your covers and your sheets and hung them up to air out every day. That's unreasonable. But I think making it maybe makes it more closed in. Like maybe if you kind of tossed it open and left it open, it would be more hygienic. Of course, most people probably wash their sheets like, I don't know, once a week. Would that be what people would recommend? I have not changed my sheets for a month and a half or so. And before that, I went a really long time. So I just don't believe what people say. Anyway, the problem with Frida is that she took advantage of the situation and made herself a cute little house, and it's hard to fault her for that. So she's not really in trouble. Also, what am I going to do? Like take her over to it and stick her head in it and go, no, 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 no. I don't think she would understand what the hell I was even talking about. So the dog training is tricky. So she's not in any real trouble. I'm in trouble for not making my bed. I'll punish myself somehow. Oh, I forgot. I have a spot that's great for covered fires. I've got two of them. Three, really. No, two. I've got the terraza fire, which could, be unrelated to an event that was inside. Although audio from it, if it was a noisy fire, could bother people. I've got the carpinteria, which is perfect, except full of a bunch of beams that we made. And then I've got a spot that's available right now, and that is the doghouse, which is a raised roof with a bunch of space inside. It would need chairs. It would need a fire pit, preferably mobile one. And there's electricity right near there, and so it's close to internet, or could be made close. And it could have stacks of dry wood. I think I should get that set up right away. That would be great. Now, I don't know what to do about the flooring. It's just dirt, and it's very dirty and dusty. I either leave it and let people trample it down, which would work. Put sawdust on it, which I don't want to do because sawdust tends to start and then like a fireworks punk, it just burns real slow and could flare up at any time. I could put Tierra de Winumo, composted oak leaves, and I like that idea a fair amount. Again, flammable, but we could concrete it. A lot of places have concrete in this world, and I want a space with a fire that's outside but with a roof. So anyway, that's it. I had forgotten about that. So fun idea as I design housing spaces for the Bosque, particularly ones I'm imagining where there's one person or two people probably, and it's a sleeping area, but maybe a hangout before you sleep area too. And that is to put a light available that is a colored light that changes colors. And it just barely lights the room enough so that even though the camera, that looked very dark in here, with just that little tiny light, and I think it's like a 2-watt or 3-watt color changing light bulb, it makes it so you can navigate the room. And you don't have to use your personal lighting device, like a headlamp, for example. So I think that equipping each living space with that is very handy. Of course, I can equip them with stuff like this. This is hooked into the main system. This is an LED light bulb. And it's only got 3 or 4 watts, but the problem is that they add up real quick. When you've got as little as I've got, and my batteries are old, and I've got only 340 watts of panels. And so I can't have a lot of spaces lit with lights like this. It does not work. I can have specific destination locations lit, um, but I can't have them in people's cabanas because I can't trust them not to use them. And and I can't even have outlets really. I'm not sure that some of the housing I build should have an outlet because people will use it for things that are too big. I have thought about wiring in USB outlets. That seems like a good idea. Although at that point, we're trying to get people to be more energy independent, even though I don't want them to have to buy a bunch of gear that they don't ever use again. So I don't, I mean, I would like it if people had little solar panels on things and could charge their phone and all that. Basically, at this point, I don't have enough electricity to share with people who don't really want to conserve it a lot. I've got enough for, like, I got a guy coming, probably. He has a drone. So he can certainly charge his batteries during the day, no problem. Camera batteries, cell phones, charge it all during the day. But there's people that want to use it longer. Like my phone just ran out because I didn't charge it because I was carrying it around. Um, and so I don't know if I need rentable systems. Like I could do that. I could have those they call them solar generators. They're not. But I could have a place where I had enough solar panels during the day, and I don't need a lot of batteries, right? That I can charge a fair number of remote battery sources. And you can imagine that if there was a certain number of people here, let's say that there was 20 people here. Okay, that's a lot. Some of them are camping, some of them are in their cars, some of them are cabanas. Many of them would be willing to rent a charged power block thingy so that they still had energy at night. And I don't have to set up a system that's as fragile as others. And I want them to be more power conscious anyway. Maybe I sell them headlamps, sell them pen lamps for emergency purposes, but then I rent them these power packs and maybe rent them an LED light bulb, which I thought I had one of. I don't know where it is. So they're on their own, you know? And I could actually make money renting them, and I would be able to use them when I wasn't renting them. That's tempting, and I need one myself right now, and I could rent it out to somebody else because I could survive without a lot of electricity. I have two sources right now, this little tiny box with LEDs in it, and a LED flashlight that is rechargeable. Not great quality and not even charged. They're kind of hard to charge. Well, I just don't have a good place to plug it in, but so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn off this big obnoxious light, and then I'm going to be able to use my phone still, because at some point my batteries crap out. Uh-oh. Oh, shit. They're going to crap out in any minute, because the upper light over there went off, and that means I'm using too much electricity. Uh-oh. And here I'm talking about how cool this colored light is. It's still cool. Maybe I'll see how far I can go. You know? And my phone's still charging. Oh, that thing is my phone's almost dead, and I'm going to get rid of that colored light. Okay. Bye. Tell ya, living on solar power is very annoying if you do it the way I do it. But it actually would be more annoying to me to have a big system that had lots of energy, because then I'd have to pay for that and I would use it. We tend to use as much energy as we have available. That's one of the reasons that humanity is not going to be saved by figuring out how to make tons of energy. There's an article I just read. They shot a bunch of lasers into something. I think they fused helium and hydrogen, or they hydrogen to make helium, something like that, or fissioned it or whatever. But it produced massive amounts of energy. That's not what we need. We need less energy, and we need to stop using it for evil. Now, we can make transitional decisions, but if all we do is give people more energy, they're just going to use more. And they will pollute the entire environment. That's what we're doing. We're going to, invent more electrical things to zoom around in and build more batteries for things, and it's a bad, bad idea. So, that's my warning. And I know about electricity. I'm proud that I live on very little. And I don't do it perfect, but I talk to you about it. Hopefully give you good ideas. Light pollution is even a problem. It bothers wildlife. Right now, there's coyotes got the dogs howling. I love that. I do it all the time. And I'm trying to keep the puppy from learning that, because the puppy is a higher pitched howl, yap thing, and I don't like it. So, icky. Well, I can't sleep, so I've decided to go down and get a little snack in the kitchen. I should have more snack food, maybe, although snack food's not that good for you usually. Gotta be careful, because I'm going downstairs, and that's still difficult for me. I just watched a fitness video online, and it was pretty fun. It was a cute chick. She's improving her body, and mostly about looking good, look more like a model or something. And it still was inspiring to me, though. I think I'm totally out of electricity. Let's take a look. If I turn this on, oh, I got electricity right there. If I use the electricity, though, I won't have any for my phone. And that's important to me at the moment. I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of water going and just make some tea. I'll consider maybe a little soup. There we go. Does that work? Not really. And it's rainy outside. And I don't have a kitchen that has water. How do I do this? So I get it from a hose. My water comes from a hose that is in a cistern. This lighting sucks. This video is not even worth doing it, maybe, but I wonder if I can use my headlight for navigating. This headlamp is dead. Only the red light works, and the red light sucks. Well, I'll just work it out. Hi, doggins. I do need to build some more spots out here for dogs. God damn it. More soft ones. They keep them warm if they want to be warm. And I'm I'm just going to make a tiny little bit. Oh, I forgot. Just the tiniest bit of light out here would be great. It's like camping out all the time. But it's my own fault for wanting to get a snack at night, I guess. Hardy took a little bit of sleep, had a cool dream that I can't remember now. All right, let's get this guy on the stove. I'm using propane in here. Electric is not something I would use for heating or cooling. So, I wonder if that helps. Can you even see anything? That's the other thing, is that I haven't really charged up this battery very well. So, this is too inconvenient. I need a headlamp. My hands are disabled. You know, that's what happens. If you don't have the right equipment, your life sucks if you're living off the grid like I do. In the way that I do. That wouldn't be hard to fix, but that's just one of many things in my life that is difficult right now. I need two hands to do what I'm going to do next. So, yeah, I got to figure out how to get more enlightened. Well, my headlamp is a little bit on, but the batteries are so dead that it doesn't actually lighten anything except my beard. So the fitness video I watched got me thinking I've got to do the same thing. I can get my body working again in 2 months if I work every day at it, you know, and I eat anything resembling healthy, which I'm, you know, right now I'm not. I'm not eating fruits and veggies, which I need to do. But then it got me thinking about, because I was watching a boot camp one earlier, where the same YouTuber goes through FBI training, does a paintball thing, a team paintball thing, and then she also went to the Army training. I think that was her, maybe that was a different person's video. But that's the kind of thing I want to set up, really, and less focused on killing people and a little bit less physically focused, because most of us don't need to do that, and most of us don't carry guns around and have to make split-second decisions on to kill people or not, although some of us do and some of us should. It would make a safer society. But kind of a permaculture boot camp, I think, would be a way to call it. I don't know if I want to use the word permaculture because people use that in such different ways right now. And I'm not going to call it like Earth Warriors or something like that. But there's a lot of things that people don't know anything about and that they should. And so a lot of knowledge training. And then a lot of planning of the rest of your life. Lists and things. There's a variety of books out there that are related to that I can piggyback off of. We can use those, or we can develop our own lists of things. I've, for a long time, had lists of how we should live and how we can support each other to live well. Unfortunately, I don't actually live that way because it's really hard to, you know, be an individual and do that on your own. It's even harder if you're surrounded by people whose culture is counter to how you want to live. I have no excuse almost because I'm here alone, but it's also, you know, I'm affected a lot by other people, and I actually need people around me and in my life because I'm a social creature, and I want to talk to people and you know, have discussions and ideas that turn into action. And I think I can plan for action and have really perhaps some programs all year, and make an annual calendar of what things we focus on when. For example, in the planting season, anybody here should probably be here for that one goal. You know, that'd be the most focused time of the year, is where in you know May and June, well, all year really, we're prepping gardens and things. But there's this brief window we have. It's really the July window, and everything we're going to do with plants for the year, as far as putting them into the ground, um, should happen then. And then there's still work all through August, where we still want to be collecting Tierra de Encino and mulching. Although a lot of that kind of work, like any work that we don't have to do during the rainy season, that isn't require the rains, we should do a lot during those times. And so there are other times of the year where we can do things that will turn this into an amazing food forest garden. Things like collecting Terra d'Encino, which is composted oak leaves, and sculpting the land with shovels, and where does the water flow, and how do we prep a garden, so that we've got so many spots to plant that we've just got stuff growing everywhere. If we collect seeds at the right time, which is another thing we need to do, we need to get better at air layering. Anything we can move out of the growing season as far as work goes is better. And it won't be as exciting, perhaps. What people really like to do is harvest. That makes them very happy, but that's the most boring part. Although it isn't really, because we want to solar dehydrate a lot of that, and I have a different way. I want to build a hydrator. We could even have some meals where we invite people over, and the food that we eat is food that we grew. People love that kind of thing. And so I think that's an important thing. Make the full annual plan for agriculture, even though the official time we focus on it is July. And then other times of the year, I'm mostly closed in the winter because it's chilly at night. October's a really great month. And September, if there's still rains in September, is the thing. And the rains affect things because of housing. That's the main deal. And we also have to have rainy day activities, because like right now it's been raining steadily for the last 2 days. We're in the rainy season, so that makes sense. And it's been mostly light rain, but you wouldn't want to walk around in it. At least I wouldn't, because I don't have good protective gear. So, and then there's Bosque in the winter that replaces the winter holidays. And, we have to design what activities we do during those. We can do things like make piñatas and play with those. And we can, be a good time to write cards to people and send them. People don't write anymore to each other. And so really I want this whole annual schedule of all the things that we're going to do. And so we also have a weekly template and a daily template. The daily template mainly involves getting out of bed and moving your body, and that defeats the cold and gets us going, because by the time it gets dark we should be exhausted. We should just zonk out. So all designing how we use time and how we use that together. We can have people on different whole tracks, like these. I don't think I have any more batteries for these thing. But there could be people who are here on a body track basically, and every day they're doing a lot of physical labor. In this case, the video that I saw, she was in a gym and everything, and it was a lot of complex, big equipment, and that might be fine. And she was trying to sculpt her body a particular way, I would really rather that we do farming type things because so much work could get done, and it would pay off a lot, you know. But it doesn't hurt to have a pull-up bar that uses very different muscles than any other thing we're going to do with farming. With farming, it's digging, it's carrying things in buckets, it's wheelbarrowing things, it's macheting, moving wood or rocks. Um, so we're also supporting a building team with collecting rocks or sculpting things even is a useful activity. So we could make stacks of rocks that were really amazingly great. In fact, I know a guy who does rock work. He's done it up in Napa Valley in the wineries there, and uh, he does beautiful work. And I think he can even do more beautiful work. And so we could have him, maybe somebody else who has a different style or some ideas, and then have a team of people who are working on rock sculptures. And I want these oases to be built for birds. And so, we can have a tank of water hidden in the middle and then have a tiny solar pump that just lets a tiny stream of water out. And if we run that during the dry season, the birds will just go crazy for it. We could make it in a way that dogs don't get into it. Could have some mosses on it. It could be in a place that wasn't in the middle of the sun. It could be in a really shady place, and there could be a different one in a sunny place. And we can optimize it for bird watching. We could have a bird blind near it, or a little building that has a set of windows that are just perfect, and you're right on the birds. I don't know. There's just so many ideas of things to do. I'm tired. I'm just rambling. Got to eat my snack and go back to bed. I think it is about 3:30 in the morning right now, and it's not chilly because I'm wearing enough clothes. That's good. Sometimes I just lay there and I'm cold. It's really dumb. The sun has stopped for the first time in a couple days. It's almost Seattle-like, and it's drizzly. It's been raining for 2 days. There's a hurricane on the coast. I am stuck here when it's doing that. I can't go on the dirt road because my vehicle will just slip. And I would like to go to town. In fact, I have some things I have to do. I mean, I won't die if I don't, probably. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I don't really mind because I got lots of plants in the ground this year, new plants, and they love these conditions. It's like a big greenhouse. And so I hope it rains too much until November, and all these plants are putting out roots and establishing themselves. It's really a beautiful thing. Well, the rain has stopped for the first time in 2 days, a little bit more maybe. There was a hurricane that went down the coast, and I felt kind of soggy. I got leaking roofs and things, and but you know what? It's beautiful. I got lots of new plants on the ground this year. This was very successful, and we're putting plants in buckets now, and so this is like a big greenhouse. It's just beautiful conditions for these plants. I hope that we get too much rain all the way through November. That'd be fantastic. I'd rather it come down like it normally is supposed to go around here and just dump and then stop, and I get a little sun. But I'll take it. I'll take a little drizzle. It's nostalgic.